Meet Wu Lingen, an otaku whose life has been a long, unfortunate series of getting pushed around. He poured all his energy into studying, convinced that academic success was his only escape route. His grand fantasy involved a life of luxury, where his skills would finally earn him the respect he craved. But the harsh truth was that his grades were just as disappointing as his social standing. After dropping out, his only marketable asset was his large, resilient frame. He stumbled upon a job posting for a sparring partner where no diploma was required. It felt as though he was right back where he started. His new career was painfully similar to his school days, only this time with boxing gloves. Beaten and broken, he cries out in despair, questioning his cruel fate. Just as he hits rock bottom, a mysterious hand rests on his shoulder, interrupting his misery. The hand belongs to his supervisor, Mei Rengsing, who's here to add insult to injury by dumping his reports on him. Wu Lingen meekly protests, questioning why a sparring partner is being treated like an office assistant. Instead of an answer, the supervisor responds with an intimidating display of his physique. He leans in with a menacing glare, making it clear that refusal is not an option. Terrified, Wu Lingen forces a strained smile and quickly agrees to handle the paperwork. Just as he thinks the ordeal is over, another voice calls out his name. He turns around, his expression shifting from fear to weary confusion. A horde of shadowy colleagues descends upon him, each with their own work to pass off. A shadow of pure rage crosses Wu Lingen's face as he's pushed to his absolute limit. Yet his anger is instantly masked by a disturbingly cheerful grin as he agrees to everyone's demands. He toils away at his desk, buried in paperwork long after the sun has set. Tears of regret stream down his face as he laments his inability to say no to unpaid overtime. Suddenly, a sharp, agonizing pain seizes his chest as his heart pounds erratically. He flashes back to a doctor's grim warning. His lifestyle could have fatal consequences. Convinced this is the end, he desperately scrambles to call for an ambulance. But fate delivers another cruel blow. His phone service has been suspended for non-payment. Utterly defeated, he slumps over, resigning himself to his tragic fate. Yet, in his final moments, a surge of defiance ignites his eyes with a fiery red glow. Having made a final, life-changing resolution, a serene smile spreads across his face as he finds peace. His last thought is a solemn vow for his next life, a promise to be someone new. But even in death, his hand remains frozen on the mouse, a final, automated gesture of his miserable life. With his last ounce of strength, he executes a petty, posthumous act of revenge. A single notification pings across every computer in the silent, empty office. His supervisor arrives the next morning, surprised to see an email from his late, overworked subordinate. Assuming it's the finished report, he eagerly clicks open the folder labeled Study Materials. The screen immediately displays highly inappropriate content, sending the entire office into a state of pandemonium. Elsewhere, a pair of wide, startled eyes blink open, filled with dawning awareness. He realizes his dying wish came true. He's been reborn, but as a baby with tiny horns. The world fast-forwards 20,000 years, settling on a breathtaking, mystical continent. Now a handsome young man, Wu Lingen finds his new life is already a massive improvement. A beautiful fox demon named Tushan Xiaoyu reminds him of their promise to explore the world together. He casually explains he's been training for 20,000 years while demonstrating his immense strength. Wu Lingen holds an entire mountain aloft, yet humbly insists he's just an ordinary person. Xiaoyu is completely stunned, her mind unable to process his impossible display of power. His casual explanation does little to calm her as she stares in utter disbelief. He confirms his reincarnation by casually tossing the mountain away, startling his companion. After 10,000 years of training, he has fully accepted the reality of his new life. He reveals he was reborn as the young master of the demonic sect, a dangerous position to be in. Wu Lingen explains that he must hide, as his weakened sect can no longer protect him from his enemies. With his training complete for the day, he gently pats her head and decides it's time to return. He reflects that Xiaoyu's companionship was the only thing that kept him from going mad during his long isolation. Haunted by his past life, he spent 20,000 years forging his body through relentless, brutal training. As they walk, he explains that after all that time, he finally understood the true nature of his new world. Their journey is suddenly interrupted by a colossal, monstrous serpent, proving his theory correct. He grimly accepts that his name, meaning no spiritual roots, is a constant reminder of his magical ineptitude. The giant beast lunges with terrifying speed, its fangs bared and ready to strike. With a look of pure determination, Wu Lingen clenches his fist, ready to rely on his physical power alone. He leaps into the air, meeting the serpent's attack with a powerful, direct punch. He understands that his incredible physique is the only asset he possesses in this magical world. The sheer force of his blow stops the massive creature cold, sending a shockwave through its body. The punch sends the colossal serpent flying, carving a destructive trench through the landscape. Even Wu Lingen seems momentarily stunned by the sheer devastation his simple attack caused. He quickly recovers, cheerfully deciding that the defeated monster will make an excellent dinner. Xiaoyu swoons with adoration, completely captivated by her companion's overwhelming power. Their victory celebration is cut short by an angry shout accusing them of being bold thieves. A cultivator on a flying sword descends, claiming they stole the flood dragon he had already wounded. The man, an academy instructor, furiously denounces them as shameless remnants of the demonic sect. Wu Lingen listens to the tirade with a completely unimpressed and weary expression. His tough facade instantly shatters as he panics, desperately denying everything while wondering how he was exposed. In a complete reversal, he prostrates himself on the ground, offering a frantic and over-the-top apology. The instructor scoffs, dismissing them as a mere fox demon and a magicless mortal. He decides words are futile and prepares to deliver a swift, violent lesson. The cultivator launches himself forward, unleashing a powerful sword technique meant to end the fight. But his attack is casually intercepted as Wu Lingen plucks the flying sword right out of the air. The instructor lands clumsily, his grand entrance ruined as he points in shock at his disarmed state. His mind reels in disbelief, unable to process how his ultimate move was so easily neutralized. Still bowing, Wu Lingen apologizes for catching the sword, explaining he was simply trying not to die. The cultivator refuses to accept this reality, certain that a powerless mortal could never stop his attack. Convinced of a trick, he turns his wrath on Xiaoyu, accusing her of being the hidden mastermind. He points a trembling finger at the fox demon, but his accusations trail off into stunned silence. Enraged, the instructor unleashes a more powerful two-sword technique, determined to end them both. But his attack ends just as pathetically, with Wu Lingen casually catching the swords like a bouquet of flowers. The instructor lands in a heap, pointing in stunned silence at the man who now holds all three of his blades. His mind reels in utter disbelief, unable to comprehend how his signature moves failed yet again. Wu Lingen bows once more, pleading for his companion's safety and making Xiaoyu's heart flutter. Refusing to accept defeat, the cultivator summons a storm of countless blades, aiming to overwhelm them with sheer numbers. Wu Lingen calmly faces the deadly barrage of swords hurtling towards him and his friend. In a flash of impossible speed, he moves like a phantom, intercepting every single blade with his bare hands. He stands decorated with the captured swords, sheepishly apologizing as Xiaoyu looks on with pure adoration. The instructor can only stare, his body frozen and his spirit completely crushed by this display of absolute absurdity. The defeated instructor scrambles away as Wu Lingen casually holds a sword between his teeth. His arrogance instantly replaced with fawning respect, the cultivator addresses Wu Lingen as a senior. He begs for the return of his swords, promising to leave immediately and end the misunderstanding. In a desperate act, the instructor strikes his own face to create a diversion for his escape. The self-inflicted blow erupts into a massive fiery explosion, propelling him away from the scene. He flees at blinding speed, leaving a scorched trench through the forest in his wake. True to his past self, Wu Lingen simply agrees, unable to refuse even his enemy's request. From a safe distance, the instructor's face is a mask of pure, unadulterated terror. The memory of Wu Lingen's power leaves him trembling, his spirit completely and utterly broken. Unfazed by the encounter, Wu Lingen turns to Xiaoyu, ready to drag their massive prize home for dinner. On the way home, Xiaoyu attempts to discuss the recent absurd encounter. Her expression suddenly darkens with rage as she forbids him from ever speaking of it again. Instantly reverting to his old habits, he sweats profusely and eagerly agrees. Her mood instantly flips back to adoration as she happily rushes to join Wu Lingen. The defeated instructor watches them disappear into the forest, still sweating from the encounter. Finally alone, he collapses in a state of shock, questioning the identity of the monstrously powerful pair. His shock turns to a sinister grin as he resolves to make them pay for their actions. Xiaoyu reflects on his power, unable to reconcile his claim of being ordinary with defeating a nascent soul cultivator. He remains oblivious, believing the cultivator was just joking, while Xiaoyu recalls the man's genuine killing intent. He concludes that his lack of spiritual power is precisely why he must rely on and relentlessly hone his physical strength. Xiaoyu gently chides him for continuing his strength training even as they walk home. Despite his cluelessness, she finds his innocent nature utterly charming and endearing. Their journey takes them through majestic, mist-covered mountain peaks toward their hidden home. They finally arrive at a cave entrance, with Wu Lingen carrying giant prepared cuts of snake meat. A weathered sign warns trespassers of a demonic presence, promising an unforgivable fate. Inside the ominous cave, a fiery glow emanates from a mysterious, cracked bowl. A fearsome, horned figure and his demonic followers emerge, threatening death to any intruders. Unfazed by the hostile reception, Wu Lingen cheerfully announces he's brought dinner. The demon's fury instantly melts into joy as they recognize their beloved young master. The sect members are revealed to be trapped behind a gate, desperately begging for the food he's brought. He explains that despite their fearsome looks, these demons are the uncles who have cared for him. The sect leader, however, glares with clear disapproval. This is Wu Di, his father, who angrily questions his son's loyalty after a mere 3-hour absence. Wu Lingen tries to explain the delay, but his father pouts from behind the gate, accusing him of making excuses. His father's suspicion immediately falls on Xiaoyu, accusing her of trying to lure his son away from the mountain. He furiously forbids any thought of leaving their sanctuary, his face a mask of pure rage. The sheer intensity of his father's reaction leaves both Wu Lingen and Xiaoyu stunned and nervous. He recalls the cunning of the righteous sects, a painful memory that has festered for 20,000 years. He explains his overprotective rage, fearing his inexperienced son would be sending himself to an early grave. Wu Lingen meekly accepts the scolding, but a flicker of defiance remains in his downcast eyes. Wu Lingen finally snaps, declaring he's heard the same lectures for 20,000 years. His father is completely stunned by this sudden and unprecedented defiance. He proclaims he'd rather face any danger outside than remain trapped in the forest. The other sect members panic, insisting that leaving at his current level is a death sentence. Xiaoyu calmly interjects, ready to set the record straight about their little trip. She proudly reveals he defeated a nascent soul cultivator, much to his awkward attempts to downplay it. The sect leader is lost in thought, trying to reconcile his son's lack of magic with this impossible feat. He quickly dismisses the achievement, reminding his son he's still just a mortal without spiritual power. Xiaoyu echoes this worry, questioning how he will handle even more powerful cultivators in the future. Clenching his fist, his father warns him not to let 1 or 2 victories make him think he's invincible. He furiously rejects the notion of being invincible, his eyes burning with a different purpose. He reveals his true quest is to break the seal trapping his family, a feat impossible from within the forest. The sect leader immediately accuses the other demons, who nervously deny telling his son the secret. Wu Lingen fondly remembers his father's unwavering care and protection over the last 20,000 years. Filled with new resolve, he declares that it is now his turn to protect his father. Xiaoyu cheerfully interrupts the tense moment, reminding them of a crucial detail they've all forgotten. She points out that his lack of demonic aura makes him the perfect undetectable agent in the outside world. But his father counters that any power breakthrough would instantly expose him, leading to certain death. Unswayed, Wu Lingen turns his back, asking his father not to blame him for the choice he's about to make. As his son walks away, the sect leader's anger melts into a look of quiet, resigned pride. Just as he's about to leave, his father's voice commands him to halt. A small glowing token is tossed through the air, landing at Wu Lingen's feet. He and Xiaoyu stare at the object, their expressions a mix of confusion and surprise. Wu Lingen examines the token, which bears his name, wondering about its purpose. His father reveals it's a qualification token for the Xuantian Academy entrance exam. Wu Lingen recalls that Xuantian Academy is the most prestigious institution for righteous cultivators. The entire sect looks on with envy, knowing its graduates are guaranteed to become powerful cultivators. Xiaoyu voices her concern, but his father counters that the enemy's stronghold is the last place they'd expect to find him. Realizing the academy offers countless cultivation paths, Wu Lingen sees a chance to find one that fits his unique situation. With his new mission set, he begins packing his belongings, preparing for the long journey ahead. He bids farewell, carrying an absurdly oversized pack for his journey to Xuantian Academy. Xiaoyu questions his father on how an imprisoned demon acquired such a rare token, but he remains evasively silent. The sect leader grimly admits to himself that he can no longer keep his son safe within their prison. Meanwhile, Wu Lingen consults a crude map, believing this path is his best chance for survival. His father reveals to Xiaoyu that there is a profound secret hidden within Wu Lingen's unique body. He officially entrusts his son's safety to her, acknowledging her immense power as a quasi-emperor-level nine-tailed fox. Xiaoyu accepts the heavy responsibility, understanding the stakes of their mission. But she quickly raises a critical point about their departure that everyone has overlooked. The entire sect freezes, a look of dawning horror on their faces as they realize who will now provide their food. Panic erupts as the sect leader screams at the others to eat, realizing their personal chef is about to leave for good. Xiaoyu bids a final, slightly smug farewell to the sect leader, ready to depart. His father desperately calls out, but Xiaoyu impatiently refuses any last-minute requests for food. The sect leader's tone shifts, delivering a grave warning about the world's impending doom. He stresses the urgency of awakening Wu Lingen's hidden power before it's too late. The scene shifts to the grand entrance of the prestigious Xuantian Academy. A long line of aspiring cultivators is being strictly managed by an academy instructor. The nervous examinees are instructed to have their qualification tokens ready for inspection. Wu Lingen, sweating under his comically large pack, desperately tries to blend in with the crowd. The instructor explains the first step of the exam, feeding their tokens to a stone lion statue. He reveals the statue is a magical security check, designed to expose fakes and unmask demonic spies. The instructor impatiently singles out a nervous-looking candidate to be the first to test his token. The young man hesitantly places his glowing qualification token into the stone lion's mouth. A bright light emanates from the statue's chest, confirming the token's authenticity. With a dismissive thumbs up, the instructor grants him entry, and the relieved candidate quickly passes. The instructor barks out an order for the next person in line to step forward. Hidden under his cloak, Wu Lingen breaks into a cold sweat, terrified his demonic heritage will be exposed. His panic is interrupted by a sudden, terrified scream from the front of the line. The stone lion's eyes glow an ominous red as it clamps down on the hand of a revealed demonic spy. Another candidate explains that the statue is designed to bite down and trap any detected anomaly, much to Wu Lingen's horror. The captured demon begs for mercy, but the instructor coldly orders the guards to lock him away without a second thought. The instructor's finger lands on Wu Lingen, who is stunned to be singled out next. His oversized backpack makes him the prime suspect, and he's ordered to present his token immediately. With his heart pounding, he desperately prays that his demonic token won't betray him. Suddenly, the ground trembles violently, startling the other candidates in line. Wu Lingen nervously places his qualification token into the stone lion's gaping maw. A blue light confirms the token's authenticity, and for a moment it seems he's passed the test. He lets out a massive sigh of relief, believing he's narrowly avoided exposure. But his relief is short-lived as the statue's eyes flare with a menacing red glow. The magical artifact has detected something far more unusual than a simple demonic spy. Instead of granting entry, the lion spits out a strange, cracked orb, leaving Wu Lingen utterly bewildered. The stone lion's eyes blaze with a malevolent red light as it prepares to strike. Wu Lingen flinches as the magical beast lunges, its stone jaws aiming to bite down on him. With a single reflexive touch, he accidentally shatters the ancient stone guardian into a pile of rubble. The instructor stares in stunned silence, his jaw agape at the impossible display of destructive power. Wu Lingen immediately drops to his knees, nervously apologizing and offering to fix the priceless artifact. Snapping out of his stupor, the instructor furiously accuses him of being a demonic spy and orders his immediate arrest. Guards quickly surround him with spears as he frantically protests, insisting his qualification token was legitimate. The instructor counters that the lion only attacks demonic energy, demanding to know what he's hiding. In a panic, Wu Lingen blames his predicament on second-hand demonic aura from his family, a flimsy but desperate excuse. The tense standoff is suddenly broken by a commanding voice as Xiaoyu arrives to intervene. She confidently challenges the instructor's hasty judgment as the other candidates stare in awe. The instructor furiously demands to know why a monster clan member is meddling in the academy's affairs. She protectively grabs Wu Lingen's arm, pulling him close to her side. With a smug grin, she declares herself his official guardian, leaving him completely flustered. The other candidates murmur in surprise, realizing a guardian implies he has a powerful background. She then challenges the instructor to examine the token's origins more closely. The instructor recognizes the insignia, identifying it as belonging to the legendary #1 sect in the world. Xiaoyu reveals this sect was destroyed 20,000 years ago, and Wu Lingyan is its only living successor. A knowledgeable candidate in the crowd smugly asks if anyone knows the real story behind the sect. He reveals the sect's only claim to fame was its absurdly literal name, deflating all the tension. Xiaoyu argues that the token's demonic taint is simply a remnant of its long, complicated history. The instructor considers the political delicacy of the situation, realizing he can't act rashly. He begrudgingly lets them pass with a stern warning, which Wu Lingyan nervously accepts. They finally step through the gates and onto the grounds of the prestigious academy. Xiaoyu cheerfully tells the still panicked Wu Lingyan to stop being so tense. She advises him to just act naturally, a concept that leaves him utterly bewildered. Their journey brings them deeper into the sprawling, impressive campus of Xuantian Academy. The new recruits gather in a courtyard, watched by a figure from a high tower. The stern instructor, Mei Yanli, crosses his arms, silently observing the new arrivals. A flamboyant master named Huang Luhong approaches, inquiring about this year's batch of students. From his high perch, Huang Luhong observes that this year's recruits show some potential. He notes the arrival of prominent figures, including Baidi of Yujin Peak and the young master of the Hehuan sect. The Hehuan sect's master immediately approaches Baidi with a flirtatious and suggestive proposition. She shuts him down instantly with a cold, withering glare and a sharp dismissal. The crowd murmurs in awe, identifying her as the prodigious daughter of Yujin Peak's master. Unimpressed by her peers, she silently concludes that none of the newcomers are worth her attention. Back in the tower, Mei Yanli agrees the batch is good, but trails off, sensing something amiss. His unease is explained as he spots Wu Lingyan casually lifting 2 massive stone hammers to act normal. Huang Luhong scoffs, assuming the show-off is just a new chi-refining cultivator trying to look tough. Mei Yanli smirks, predicting that such a flashy character is doomed to fail the very first test. With a powerful step, Mei Yanli begins his dramatic entrance. He leaps effortlessly into the air, a blur of motion showcasing his cultivation prowess. Landing gracefully atop the academy gate, he commands the attention of the awestruck recruits. He introduces himself as the instructor for the assessment and announces the start of their entrance test. Wu Lingyan listens intently, realizing his future at the academy depends on passing these trials. A jolt of recognition hits him as he finds the instructor's face strangely familiar. Mei Yanli immediately singles out the staring Wu Lingyan, angrily calling him out in front of everyone. Caught completely off guard, Wu Lingyan is left flustered and speechless by the accusation. He then points out that a single, reflective thread on the instructor's clothes was the source of his distraction. The instructor is left floating in stunned, awkward silence as the entire crowd stares up at him. The instructor is left dangling awkwardly from his rope, his grand entrance completely ruined. He quickly recovers, putting on a friendly facade and offering Wu Lingyan some unsettling encouragement. But the illusion shatters as he's once again seen hanging helplessly, unable to control his own technique. His partner, Huang Luhong, furiously berates him for failing to stop his levitation spell at the right moment. The stoic Baidi watches the chaos with disdain, questioning both the instructor's power and Wu Lingyan's nerve. Huang Luhong realizes the new recruit has made a powerful and petty enemy on his very first day. To regain his dignity, Mei Yanli dramatically tears off his robes, revealing his powerful physique. He calmly claims the embarrassing display was just a joke before announcing the start of the first test. Wu Lingyan is left utterly confused by the instructor's bizarre and unnecessary display of machismo. Other recruits, however, stare in awe, recognizing the terrifying aura of a truly powerful cultivator. A knowledgeable recruit recognizes the instructor's physique as the legendary sandbag sacred body. He explains that this body type absorbs the energy from attacks, turning enemy power into its own strength. This ability makes the instructor virtually immune to attacks from cultivators at his own level. Wu Lingyan is horrified, imagining a bizarre training regimen and wondering if this path is only for masochists. The instructor announces the first test, ordering each recruit to strike him so he can gauge their potential. He then delivers a private, menacing threat to Wu Lingyan, promising to fail him regardless of his talent. To make an example of him, the instructor singles out Wu Lingyan to be the very first to take the test. Wu Lingyan steps forward, calmly warning the instructor to brace himself for a powerful blow. The instructor scoffs with absolute confidence, boasting that even a nascent soul cultivator couldn't possibly harm him. But his arrogant taunt is cut short as Wu Lingen's fist connects with his neck in a blur of motion. The punch lands with devastating force, distorting the instructor's face in a grotesque display of impact. Mei Yanli is sent flying like a cannonball, smashing through the academy gate in a fiery explosion. The other recruits can only stare in wide-eyed horror, their minds unable to process what they just witnessed. From his perch, Huang Luhong breaks into a cold sweat, his flamboyant confidence completely shattered. Wu Lingen stands in the newly carved canyon of destruction, calmly observing the aftermath of his single punch. His calm demeanor vanishes as he realizes he may have just ended his academy career before it even began. In the distance, the once mighty instructor sits dazed amidst the smoldering ruins of the gate. Mei Yanli is left completely unconscious, his legendary sandbag sacred body utterly defeated. Wu Lingen cheerfully turns to the stunned crowd, innocently asking if this means he passed the assessment. The other recruits shrink back in pure terror, leaving him confused by their fearful reaction. In her fox form, Xiaoyu gracefully leaps across the academy rooftops to get a better view. She watches from a rooftop, smugly observing how Wu Lingen has captured everyone's attention. The recruits murmur in disbelief, their knowledge of cultivation completely failing to explain the scene. Even the stoic Bai Di is forced to reconsider, realizing she's not the only one hiding their true strength. Huang Luhong cautiously approaches his dazed colleague, who is sitting amidst the ruins of the gate. The flamboyant master reveals the punch was equivalent to a late nascent soul attack, much to Wu Lingen's private amusement. Suddenly, the defeated instructor's eyes fly open as he jolts back to consciousness. He springs to his feet, his body trembling with pure, unadulterated fury. The humiliated instructor charges forward, his pride clearly wounded by the public defeat. He furiously berates Wu Lingen for the sucker punch, while the boy can only offer a frantic apology. The crowd quickly rationalizes the defeat, concluding the instructor was simply caught off guard. Refusing to accept his loss, the instructor nullifies the first test and threatens to disqualify Wu Lingen for any more tricks. To save face, he unleashes his full power, activating the legendary immovable sandbag technique. A knowledgeable recruit explains this ultimate defense converts all of a user's power into an unbreakable shield. The instructor confidently boasts that even a Tribulation Transcendence cultivator couldn't budge him now. Unfazed, Wu Lingen delivers another punch, this time directly to the instructor's chest. The blow sinks deep into his flesh, leaving a perfect fist-shaped crater in his supposedly invincible body. The other recruits erupt in cheers, amazed that the instructor stood his ground without moving a single step. But his flamboyant colleague stares in disbelief, realizing the crowd has completely misread the situation. A closer look reveals the truth. The instructor fainted on his feet from the sheer force of the blow. To save face, the flamboyant master quickly declares the instructor is unwell and that everyone has passed the first round. The recruits celebrate their unexpected pass, their gazes fixed on Wu Lingen with a mix of awe and curiosity. A smug, silver-haired cultivator approaches, acknowledging Wu Lingen as a worthy rival and demanding his name. He introduces himself as Zhang Ma of the Heiwan sect, listing his credentials and a rather suggestive hobby. Zhang Ma forcefully befriends Wu Lingen, who panics at the thought of becoming his new cultivation partner. Their awkward bonding is interrupted by another group of recruits hoping to join their powerful new faction. A young monk named Tianji offers his services as an information broker in exchange for their protection. He admits his network has a massive blind spot, presenting a blank report on the completely unknown Wu Lingen. Tianji's overly eager expression makes Wu Lingen slightly wary of his new, self-proclaimed follower. The young informant presses for details, asking about Wu Lingen's mysterious origins and sect affiliation. Cornered, Wu Lingen sweats profusely, nervously claiming to be a simple rogue cultivator. His display attracts the attention of Bai Di, the beautiful prodigy from Yujin Peak, who looks on with clear annoyance. She confronts him directly, vowing to expose the gap between his brute strength and her true genius. With a final glare, she turns her back, leaving Wu Lingen to deal with his newfound unwanted fame. Nearby, a mysterious hooded figure watches silently, earning an admiring glance from the informant monk. Their celebration is cut short as the flamboyant master announces the real test is about to begin. With a dramatic flourish, he presses a large red button, activating the next stage of the assessment. The ground beneath the recruit suddenly shifts, transforming into a treacherous, unstable grid. Panic spreads through the crowd as they struggle to keep their balance, questioning the sudden tremor. A massive, featureless cube erupts from the ground, sealing them all inside a mysterious new arena. Menacing mechanical beasts with glowing red eyes emerge from the walls of the arena. An army of armored puppets activates, standing in perfect, intimidating formation. The towering mechanical guardians loom over the terrified recruits, trapping them in the square. From above, the students are shown to be completely encircled by the imposing puppet army. The flamboyant master reappears, introducing himself as Huang Luhong, the examiner for the second test. He proudly claims credit for the mechanical monstrosities, much to the recruits' unease. The master reveals the puppets will relentlessly fire hidden projectiles at them for the duration of the test. He lights an incense stick next to his fallen colleague, explaining the test is a timed endurance trial. A chilling warning is issued to the recruits, clarifying that this is no mere simulation. He emphasizes the danger by revealing the puppets are armed with lethal, non-magical weapons. The puppet army unleashes a deadly barrage of energy beams, welcoming the recruits to their trial. While others flee in terror from the explosions, Wu Lingen stands his ground, completely unfazed. The mechanical soldiers relentlessly fire their projectiles, filling the arena with lethal light. Weaker candidates are quickly overwhelmed and eliminated, sent flying by the force of the blasts. From the sidelines, Huang Luhong notes that the Heihuan Sex Master is holding his own against the onslaught. Zhang Ma skillfully deflects the incoming beams, using a powerful defensive technique. He smirks with absolute confidence, boasting that his signature move makes him immune to attacks from behind. His arrogance is short-lived as a beam strikes him directly in the chest, leaving him utterly stunned. The flamboyant master quickly covers his face, trying to retract his earlier praise in embarrassment. His expression turns serious, however, as his attention is drawn to something else in the arena. His attention is drawn to Bai Di, who moves like a phantom, her swordsmanship proving surprisingly effective. But even her stoic composure breaks as she stares at something in the arena with utter disbelief. She sees Wu Lingen casually smashing the leg of a giant mechanical puppet with a rock. He logically concludes that if he destroys the puppets, they can no longer attack him. The flamboyant master erupts in fury, screaming that he has completely misunderstood the objective of the test. He threatens to disqualify Wu Lingen, who simply apologizes for not being clear on the rules. Annoyed by his showboating, Bai Di prepares to drag him out of the arena herself. Suddenly, a hand snatches the puppet controller right out of the instructor's grasp. The revived Mei Yanli takes the remote, deciding there's no need to waste any more words on the boy. With a sinister grin, he prepares to teach Wu Lingen a lesson using the full power of the puppets. The puppets begin to reconfigure, their mechanical parts shifting and locking into place. In a flash of light, the individual machines start combining, linking together to form a much larger entity. The separate puppets merge into a single colossal golem, leaving Wu Lingen to stare up at the impossible transformation. The informant monk panics, realizing this fusion creates a monster with power far beyond the Golden Core stage. A nearby recruit marvels at the monk's knowledge, but Tianji's face is pale with fear for another reason. He reveals his expertise comes from personal experience, as he's already been struck by several of the poisoned projectiles. The flamboyant master furiously confronts his colleague, warning him that this level of danger is a death sentence. But the vengeful instructor smirks, making it clear he's willing to do anything to ensure Wu Lingen fails. The colossal puppet unleashes its full arsenal, firing a concentrated storm of deadly projectiles. Yet Wu Lingen moves like a blur, weaving through the lethal barrage with impossible speed and grace. His attention is caught by the terrified screams of the other recruits. He realizes with a sweat drop that his actions have made everyone else a target. The vengeful instructor smirks, deciding to escalate the assault even further. A new squadron of mechanical puppets suddenly surrounds Wu Lingen, cutting off his escape. He braces himself, preparing for a multi-directional attack from the towering machines. The instructors issue a final, furious warning against damaging any more of their precious puppets. The other recruits breathe a sigh of relief as the informant monk grimly accepts his new leader's fate. Bai Di watches with cold satisfaction, believing his arrogance has finally caught up with him. The puppets unleash a flurry of coordinated strikes, their mechanical limbs blurring with speed. With a look of grim resolve, Wu Lingen decides there's only one way out of this situation. He stomps on the air itself, using sheer force to propel himself upwards. Landing with explosive force, he shatters the arms of another mechanical puppet. The instructors stare in disbelief, lamenting their broken puppet while questioning how he can fly. The other recruits wonder about his cultivation level, knowing flight is a skill for Golden Core masters. But the injured informant monk, riddled with projectiles, realizes the impossible truth behind the display. He reveals Wu Lingen isn't flying with magic, but simply jumping with unbelievable leg strength. The monk explains he's using the downward force of his stomps to defy gravity, leaving everyone speechless. The vengeful instructor smirks, confident that even this physical marvel has a limit and must eventually come down. He orders the puppets to fire a volley of projectiles, creating a deadly trap at Wu Lingen's landing zone. Caught in a bind, Wu Lingen realizes he can't destroy the puppets, but will fail if he's hit, forcing him to find a new plan. A brilliant idea strikes Wu Lingen as he spots Bai Di standing amidst the chaos below. He deftly uses the tips of the incoming projectiles as a makeshift staircase. With another impossible leap, he lands directly in front of the stoic swordswoman. He drops to one knee before her, leaving Bai Di to question his sudden, dramatic gesture. Wu Lingen looks up with a sly grin, prompting her to ask about his intentions. Her composure shatters into a flustered blush as she misinterprets his approach as a romantic advance. In a flash, he's hiding behind her as she instinctively draws her swords to deflect the projectiles. The boy peeks out from behind his new, unwilling guardian, using her as a human shield. She erupts in fury at his audacity, while he sheepishly explains it was his only option. Enraged by his stunt, she sends him flying with a powerful swing of her sword. Enraged by his stunt, Bai Di turns her blade on him, vowing to eliminate him from the test herself. Wu Lingen panics, realizing he's now trapped between a furious swordswoman and a barrage of lethal projectiles. From the sidelines, his new follower marvels at his leader's impressive dodging skills under pressure. The vengeful instructor cackles with glee, enjoying the sight of his two most troublesome recruits clashing. While fleeing, Wu Lingen glances at the instructors, a new plan beginning to form in his mind. His eyes light up with a brilliant idea as he focuses on the flamboyant master, Huang Luhong. He abruptly stops running and turns to face his pursuer, leaving Bai Di to wonder if he has surrendered. Instead of fighting, he takes a massive, deep breath, drawing in a huge amount of air. The instructors watch in confusion, mocking his decision to take a breather in the middle of a deadly assault. He then unleashes the air in a powerful, swirling vortex, creating a massive gust of wind. The gale force wind he created sends the other recruits, including an embarrassed Bai Di, stumbling. The instructors brace against the wind, with Mei Yanli dismissing the move as a mere bluff. As the wind subsides, the instructors are left with their hair standing on end, completely bewildered by the display. Wu Lingen calmly interrupts the fuming instructor, politely pointing out a crucial detail. The instructor looks over in shock, realizing the incense stick marking the test's duration has already burned to ash. His colleague realizes the powerful gust of wind intentionally burned through the incense, ending the test early. The informant monk excitedly declares that his new leader had a brilliant, ulterior motive for his actions. He proclaims that Wu Lingen's clever trick was a selfless act to ensure everyone passed the test. Bai Di clenches her teeth, her face burning with humiliation at being saved by his ridiculous stunt. She furiously storms off, leaving a bewildered Wu Lingen to wonder what he could have possibly done wrong. The battered recruits stare in a daze, still reeling from the chaotic test. A new, powerful figure appears, remarking that he hasn't seen such an interesting freshman in years. The man reveals himself as Yu Tianxing, the legendary dean of Xuantian Academy, stunning the entire crowd. The recruits whisper amongst themselves, unimpressed by the dean's slightly crooked wig. But the informant monk furiously defends him, revealing the dean is the infamous Red Flame Shura. He recounts the legend of how the dean's hair was dyed red from slaying countless demons 20,000 years ago. The other recruits listen to the impressive tale, but one of them notices a glaring inconsistency. He points out the obvious flaw in the story. The legendary red hair is just a cheap wig. The dean ignores the murmurs and singles out Wu Lingen, demanding to know his name. From a nearby rooftop, Xiaoyu yawns, completely unbothered by the dramatic proceedings below. Xiaoyu panics from her perch, realizing Wu Lingen has already offended the powerful headmaster. She sends a telepathic warning, startling Wu Lingen, who is standing before the academy's leader. She points out his wind blast dislodged the headmaster's wig and urges him to fix it immediately. Wu Lingen awkwardly approaches the fuming headmaster, trying to smooth things over with an apology. The headmaster scoffs, dismissing the apology and blaming the entire incident on the boy's lack of skill. As he lectures, his cheap, fiery red wig finally begins to slip from his bald head. At Xiaoyu's telepathic command, Wu Lingen leaps forward with impossible speed.
He deftly catches the falling hairpiece
and places it back on the headmaster's head in a single fluid motion. The headmaster is left stunned by the boy's blinding speed, admitting he barely even saw him move. Wu Lingyan cheekily explains he was just returning dropped property, telling the headmaster not to be so grateful. But his attempt to help only makes things worse as he's placed the wig on backwards. Wu Lingyan then notices the projectiles that were also caught in the headmaster's hair. Xiao Yu panics, realizing he grabbed a handful of deadly projectiles along with the wig. The vengeful instructor grabs Wu Lingyan, who can only apologize for his disastrous mistake. The headmaster tries to save face, boasting that such minor injuries are nothing to a man of his power. The instructor points out the blood streaming down his face, but the headmaster insists it's all part of his plan. The new recruits are completely fooled by the act, but Xiao Yu sees right through his tough guy facade. Trying to be helpful, Wu Lingyan reaches up to pull out one of the embedded projectiles. His well-intentioned act backfires as he rips the wig clean off in a fountain of black hair. The force sends the headmaster tumbling off his perch, revealing his legendary power and his underwear. The vengeful instructor catches the unconscious headmaster, his face a mask of pure shock. The recruits' respect shatters, questioning how this boastful old man could possibly be their leader. To save face, the flamboyant master hastily declares the second round over and that everyone has passed. The instructors rush the humiliated headmaster away, desperately seeking medical attention from the alchemist hall. The remaining candidates celebrate their pass, but a lingering sense of unease tells them something is wrong. A sudden chill runs down Wu Lingyan's spine as he realizes they've overlooked a critical detail. Panic erupts once more as the recruits realize the instructor forgot to deactivate the still-firing mechanical puppets. A mysterious new figure watches the chaos from above, his gaze fixed on the isolated Wu Lingyan. The man smirks with sinister satisfaction, pleased that his target has been delivered right to him. Later that night, the traumatized recruits huddle together, recounting how they barely survived the ordeal. Even after a chaotic day, Wu Lingyan is seen training late into the night. Xiao Yu finds him and questions his late-night workout, but he's determined to pass the next day's assessment. She agrees with his goal, knowing a better class placement means access to superior training resources. However, she reminds him that rest is just as crucial as training for a cultivator. With a blush, she offers to apply a special oil to help his meridians, but her eager expression makes him suspicious. She turns away, praising his ambition, though her true intentions seem less than pure. In a classic, not-so-subtle move, she accidentally trips over a conveniently placed rock. He instinctively catches her as she falls directly into his arms, feigning surprise. Nestled in his embrace, she celebrates her successful maneuver with a triumphant, blush-filled grin. Nearby, the stoic Bai Di is interrupted from her nightly routine, looking thoroughly unamused by the disturbance. Bai Di seethes with rage, promising to make Wu Lingyan pay for his earlier stunt. Her vengeful thoughts are cut short by an alarming sound from a nearby room. She cautiously approaches the building, wondering about the strange noises coming from within. Her eyes widen in shock as she tries to process the disturbing sounds. Peeking through the window, she sees a horrifying silhouette that looks like Wu Lingyan attacking Xiao Yu. She tries to rationalize the scene, questioning how he could be involved in such an incident so soon. Deciding she must have been mistaken, she forces herself to take another, calmer look. But the second glance only seems to confirm her initial horror as the silhouette appears damning. Inside, however, Wu Lingyan is simply training with a massive iron chain as a jump rope. Xiao Yu sheepishly explains that the blood on the window was just a bottle of spilled medicinal wine. Xiao Yu offers to clean up the spilled wine, providing a convenient excuse for the mess. Misinterpreting the scene, Bai Di sprints towards the room, determined to intervene. She crouches outside, steeling her resolve to rescue the girl she believes is in grave danger. A horrifying silhouette against the window seems to confirm her worst fears, sending her into a panic. Convinced she's too late, Bai Di covers her face, unable to watch the gruesome scene unfold. Inside, Wu Lingyan checks on Xiao Yu, who is sitting in a puddle of red liquid, feigning a simple fall. She looks up with a pout, complaining that the accident has completely ruined her outfit. Wu Lingyan averts his gaze with a slight blush, completely oblivious to her scheming. He offers to find her a change of clothes, an act of kindness that she eagerly accepts. Just as the misunderstanding peaks, Bai Di kicks the door off its hinges, making a dramatic entrance. Bai Di bursts in, furiously accusing Wu Lingyan of being a murderous demon. The scene reveals an innocent moment, with Wu Lingyan simply offering a change of clothes to Xiao Yu. Her horror escalates as she accuses him of defiling a body, leaving Xiao Yu utterly bewildered. Wu Lingen looks on, completely baffled by the murderous demon accusation. He panics, thinking his true identity is exposed, while Xiaoyu frantically tries to de-escalate the situation. Refusing to listen to any explanation, Bai Di's eyes glow with cold fury as she prepares to strike. She unleashes her powerful Lingjiao sword technique, summoning an aura of spectral blades. With grim determination, she launches her devastating 10,000 swords attack. Seeing no other option, Wu Lingen steels himself, deciding he must retaliate. He moves in a blur, creating multiple afterimages as he effortlessly dodges the lethal attack. Baidi is left stunned, unable to comprehend his incredible speed. Refusing to be outdone, she declares this is only a fraction of her true power. She channels her energy into a single devastating sky-piercing sword strike. Wu Lingen's eyes gleam with focus as he prepares to meet the attack head-on. A massive beam of sword energy hurtles towards him, threatening to obliterate everything in its path. Instead of dodging, he meets the powerful energy blast with a single defiant punch. Baidi's confidence shatters as he completely neutralizes her ultimate attack with his bare fist. Before she can react, she's startled to find him standing directly behind her. He delivers a swift, precise chop to the back of her neck, a technique to end the confrontation. The prodigy from Yujian Peak collapses to the floor, completely unconscious. Xiaoyu stares in shock as Wu Lingen panics, realizing he had to use a secret technique to protect his identity. She explains his move was a legendary memory-erasing chop, designed to alter a target's recollection of events. The powerful strike has left the proud prodigy completely dazed and out cold on the floor. Realizing the trouble they're in, Xiaoyu urges him to return the unconscious girl before they're discovered. Wu Lingen quickly dresses and carries the unconscious Bai Di, preparing to sneak her back to her quarters. Under the moonlight, he leaps across the academy rooftops, a silent shadow carrying his rival. He lands near her room, but his mission is far from over. His plan hits a snag as Bai Di suddenly regains consciousness, looking dazed and confused. Thinking fast, he delivers another precise chop to her neck, putting her back to sleep. Wu Lingen breathes a sigh of relief, narrowly avoiding a disastrous exposure of his secrets. His plan hits another snag as he realizes he has no idea where she actually lives. From a nearby corner, the informant monk watches in shock, completely misinterpreting the scene. The monk follows them, trying to deduce which room belongs to the famous prodigy. Wu Lingen decides to take a chance, pushing open the door to a random, unlocked room. He gently places the unconscious Bai Di onto the bed, hoping to make a quick escape. Seeing the room is unoccupied, he incorrectly assumes it must be her quarters. Just as he's about to leave, Bai Di begins to stir, her eyes fluttering open in confusion. In a panic, he delivers a third decisive memory-erasing chop to her neck. He frantically apologizes, knowing he can't risk letting her discover his true identity. A cold sweat runs down his back as he worries about the consequences of using the technique 3 times in a row. He rationalizes his actions, concluding that a little guilt is better than having his secrets exposed. Looking around, he's surprised to find the prodigy's room is unexpectedly messy. His eyes fall upon his own muddy footprints, realizing he's left a trail of evidence. In a panic, he grabs a mop and furiously scrubs the floor to erase any trace of his presence. Deciding to be thorough, he tidies up her entire room while he's at it. Meanwhile, the mysterious hooded figure from earlier sits alone in a secluded gazebo. The rustling of nearby bushes signals the stealthy approach of an unseen observer. The hooded figure calmly calls out, telling the hidden person to stop hiding. A small cat suddenly darts from the bushes, catching the figure's attention. The informant monk emerges from a pond, praising the hooded figure's sharp senses for finding him. The hooded figure questions the monk's need for stealth, stating that nothing escapes his sight. The monk gets straight to the point, admitting he needs help dealing with a troublesome new student. With a smug grin, the hooded figure asks what he gets in return for his assistance. The monk makes a powerful offer, promising his full support in a future bid for family leadership. The deal is struck and the hooded figure asks for the target's identity, which the monk reveals to be Wu Lingen. The hooded figure recalls the arrogant recruit who took down the instructor with a single punch. The monk reveals his sinister plan to rig the next assessment, setting Wu Lingen up for an accidental elimination. The hooded figure agrees to the plan and turns to leave, reminding the monk of his end of the bargain. Just as he's leaving, the monk stops him, prompting the hooded figure to ask what else he needs. With a grim expression, the monk reveals he has another separate favor to ask. The monk reveals his other problem. He's being attacked by a massive water serpent. The hooded figure sighs in annoyance as the monk is flung about, questioning his competence. Reluctantly, he grips his sword, deciding to step in and handle the situation himself. He draws his blade, unleashing a powerful slash of concentrated water energy. The attack forms a brilliant cross of light, slicing through the darkness towards its target. His powerful strike lands with devastating force, cutting through the water and the beast. With the threat neutralized, he turns away, declaring the fight finished. However, his attack also sent the screaming monk flying into the nearby trees. With a sigh, he catches the clumsy monk before he can hit the ground. The monk looks up with admiration, much to the hooded figure's clear disgust. The hooded figure unceremoniously drops the clumsy monk headfirst into the pond. A ghostly spirit emerges from his ring, warning him that Wu Lingen is more formidable than he appears. The spirit, Master Dan admits that even at his peak, he couldn't match the power Wu Lingen displayed. The hooded figure scoffs at the warning, confidently boasting that he is simply unbeatable. He then reveals his ultimate secret, declaring himself to be a time traveler from another world. A flashback reveals his past life as an ordinary student on a planet called Blue Star. His journey began after a fatal accident with a large vehicle sent him to this cultivation world. He was reborn as a mocked and insignificant young master of the powerful Xiao family. His early life in this new world was filled with humiliating and unfortunate incidents. But his destiny changed when he stumbled upon a magical ring containing the spirit of Master Dan. The spirit praises his confidence, while the hooded figure sees all rivals as mere stepping stones. He coldly resolves that Wu Lingen's fate is to be defeated by him, the story's true protagonist. Miles away, Wu Lingen is suddenly struck by an unexpected sneeze. He rubs his nose, completely unaware that he's just been marked as a target. With the room now spotless, he decides it's finally time to make his escape. He quietly opens the door, preparing to slip away unnoticed. Wu Lingen leaps from the building, disappearing into the night. The quiet street is left empty in the wake of his departure. Moments later, the hooded figure arrives, standing in the now empty street. He stops before the room Wu Lingen just left, his gaze fixed on the door. The hooded figure enters his room, noticing it's been immaculately cleaned by an unknown visitor. His eyes widen in shock as he discovers the unconscious Bai Di lying on his bed. He stares down at the sleeping prodigy, trying to make sense of the impossible situation. His composure breaks into a flustered panic at finding a woman in his private quarters. Bai Di turns over in her sleep, completely oblivious to the man's growing confusion. He recognizes the famous goddess from Yujin Peak, realizing the identity of his unexpected guest. Shaking off his infatuation, he tries to think rationally about what to do next. He takes in the spotless room again, connecting the cleaning to his mysterious visitor. He pieces together the clues, believing a beautiful girl secretly tidied his room and waited for him. With unwavering confidence, he arrives at the only logical conclusion. She must be in love with him. He recalls tales from his past life where protagonists like him always win the heroine's heart. He gazes at the sleeping Bai Di, wondering if she is his fated love. His fantasy is interrupted by a simple question. Why hasn't she woken up yet? Master Dan explains her consciousness is damaged, preventing her from waking. He concludes she must have exhausted herself cleaning his room, much to the spirit's disgust. Confident in his past life's knowledge, he prepares to administer first aid. He kneels beside the bed, ready to put his questionable medical skills to the test. Just then, Bai Di lets out a faint groan, showing signs of stirring. Her eyes slowly open as she dazedly tries to understand her situation. He leans in close, preparing to give her a reviving kiss, completely misreading the moment. Wu Lingen stands outside, completely baffled by the sudden turn of events. Before the hooded figure can react, Bai Di sends him flying out the door with a powerful kick. The bruised protagonist questions her actions, while Master Dan suggests he might be overthinking things. He confidently concludes that his romantic advance was simply too forward for a reserved woman of this world. The spirit questions his logic, proposing she might have just entered the wrong room by mistake. He dismisses the doubt with a smug grin, declaring it's his destiny as the protagonist. Meanwhile, a dazed Bai Di wanders the academy grounds, trying to piece together the previous night. A fragmented memory flashes in her mind, recalling her furious confrontation with Wu Lingen. The pieces slowly click into place as she begins to remember the chaotic misunderstanding. Her memory solidifies into a horrifying, incorrect conclusion. Wu Lingen is a demonic cultivator. She wrongly concludes that the man in the room was Wu Lingen's accomplice in a dark conspiracy. With a confident smirk, she vows to find the proof she needs to expose him as a demonic cultivator. Her furious declaration echoes across the academy rooftops, putting Wu Lingyan squarely in her sights. The commotion wakes other recruits, who gossip about the mysterious late-night feud between the prodigy and the powerhouse. The next day, the candidates gather at the performance stage for the next round of assessments. Impatience grows among the crowd as they wait, wondering why none of the instructors have appeared. Meanwhile, Wu Lingyan pushes himself to the limit, training with heavy weights to the shock of his peers. Xiao Yu tries to calm his nerves, but he insists he can't afford to relax before the final test. Biping spots him from the crowd, her expression filled with contempt for his perceived arrogance. The other recruits notice her intense stare, recalling her shouts from the previous night and fueling more speculation. The informant monk smugly tells the crowd he knows the real story behind the feud. He begins to spin a tale about a secret, deeper relationship between Wu Lingyan and the prodigy. His gossip is cut short as a cold blade is suddenly pressed against his throat. The hooded figure warns him to stop slandering Biping, forcing a terrified agreement from the monk. With a dismissive shove, the hooded figure sends the informant monk tumbling to the ground. The other recruits whisper about his motives, dismissing him as one of Biping's many admirers. He confidently tells his spirit companion that Biping is his fated heroine, destined only for him. Suddenly, a thunderous shout for silence cuts through the crowd's chatter. The flamboyant instructor finally makes his appearance, drawing the attention of Wu Lingyan and the other candidates. He makes a dramatic entrance, firing several energy blasts onto the stage to signal the start of the final assessment. The instructors formally announce the beginning of the third and final assessment. A grim-faced instructor reveals this round is a live combat trial, where performance dictates their future class. The dean strokes his new, even more ridiculous wig, confirming he will personally oversee the evaluations. Wu Lingyan can't help but notice the dean's updated hairpiece, earning a nervous shush from Xiao Yu. The dean glares, seemingly having heard the comment, before curtly agreeing to the proceedings. An instructor presses a large red button on a remote, initiating the next phase of the test. A bizarre penguin-shaped dispenser drops onto the stage as the recruits are told to draw their match numbers. The candidates line up, each reaching into the strange machine to determine their opponent. Wu Lingyan steps forward, his expression showing mild surprise at the unusual lottery system. He reaches into the dispenser's slot, ready to discover his fate in the upcoming combat trial. The informant monk rigs the lottery, using a sharp projectile to pin a specific number for his target. The rigged number is sent flying with precision, embedding itself in the pile of papers. Wu Lingyan looks slightly confused as he reaches into the strange dispenser. He pulls out a crumpled paper, pierced by the very same projectile used to rig the draw. Unfolding the paper, he finds the number 38, unaware of the trap that has been set. From the sidelines, the hooded figure watches with a sinister smirk, pleased the plan is in motion. The informant monk celebrates his success, though his partner questions the cost of breaking his life-bound weapon for the trick. He boasts about his resilience, only to cough up blood from the strain, earning a sharp rebuke. The hooded figure reveals his own number, pointing out a flaw in the plan. They aren't even matched to fight. The monk confidently dismisses his concern, hinting that the hooded figure doesn't grasp the full scope of his scheme. The monk explains his true intention was to use another fighter to gauge Wu Lingyan's strength. A massive shadow falls over Wu Lingyan as he turns to face his first opponent. A towering brute holding number 37 dismisses Wu Lingyan as a weakling who should just surrender. The informant monk's companion worries, noting that Wu Lingyan's opponent looks incredibly dangerous. The monk reveals the man is Wang Tieju, a notorious assassin from the martial world. He adds to the tension, claiming that no one who witnesses the assassin's techniques lives to tell the tale. The assassin confronts Wu Lingyan, revealing he's been watching his performance in the previous tests. He smugly dismisses Wu Lingyan's skills, calling him nothing more than a brute with some natural strength. The assassin condescendingly pats Wu Lingyan's cheek, boasting he might accidentally end him in the arena. Xiao Yu pulls Wu Lingyan away from the taunting opponent, but he remains completely unfazed. The assassin smirks, daring Wu Lingyan to challenge him on the spot. His followers watch eagerly, convinced their leader is about to unleash his power. But Wu Lingyan simply apologizes, admitting his spiritual root is poor, much to the assassin's confusion. Xiao Yu frantically tells him not to be so polite, but he calmly agrees with his opponent's assessment. The assassin's ego swells, demanding Wu Lingyan kneel to be spared. Wu Lingyan pauses, considering the arrogant demand. His expression hardens as he declares that despite his weakness, he has his own reasons to fight. The assassin's eye narrows, angered by the unexpected defiance. He scoffs at the response, vowing to crush Wu Lingen in the arena before turning his back. Xiaoyu swoons with admiration for his cool demeanor, leaving Wu Lingen slightly baffled by her reaction. The assassin reminds the monk of their deal. Eliminate Wu Lingen in exchange for a spot in the top class. He confidently walks away, vowing to make an example out of the arrogant newcomer. The hooded figure worries their target might be eliminated too soon, but the monk's sinister laugh suggests he has it all under control. An instructor officially concludes the lottery and calls the first two contestants to the stage. A single boot steps forward, signaling the start of the Academy's combat trials. The first fighter is announced as Bai Di, whose appearance sends her many admirers into a frenzy. Her opponent, Zhang Ma, makes a bold and inappropriate proposition, immediately earning the crowd's fury. He casually deflects the food and trash thrown by the audience, mocking their futile attempts to attack him from behind. His smug expression vanishes as he realizes a much larger object is about to strike him from behind. The instructor, who is standing behind the fighter, is now covered in food, while the bruised contestant offers a weak apology. The informant monk smirks, amused by the hooded figure's sudden protective stance. The hooded figure glares, possessively claiming Bai Di and vowing to remember her opponent's name. His companion questions this sudden attachment, but the hooded figure smugly credits his protagonist's aura. The flamboyant instructor cuts the chatter short, officially starting the first match. On stage, Bai Di's opponent eagerly anticipates their confrontation. He confidently declares he will demonstrate the true power of his sect to her. With a smug grin, he prepares to unleash a powerful signature move. He blurs into motion, creating multiple afterimages to overwhelm his opponent. The crowd marvels at his speed, recognizing the impressive martial technique of the Heihuan sect. While his companion is impressed, the informant monk seems to find a flaw in the flashy display. He confidently taunts Bai Di, challenging her to find his real body among the afterimages. Bai Di, however, remains completely unfazed by his showy display. Her gaze lowers, spotting an obvious flaw in his otherwise impressive stance. Without hesitation, she delivers a swift, well-aimed kick that shatters his illusion and his composure. He stumbles back in agony, accusing her of fighting dirty, but she remains unmoved. But he reveals a hidden metal plate, smugly admitting he's been prepared for such an attack, much to her surprise. With his trick revealed, he decides to get serious, gathering powerful energy in his hands. He prepares to launch the massive sphere of energy directly at his opponent. Yet instead of attacking, he begins to circle her again, creating afterimages while still holding the energy orb. From the sidelines, Wu Lingen questions the fighter's strange tactic, wondering why he doesn't just throw the attack. The informant monk explains that for low-level cultivators, projecting qi is a difficult feat. This new knowledge makes Wu Lingen realize the true power of his father and Xiaoyu. On the stage, the fighter continues his flashy display, circling Bai Di with the energy orb. Unimpressed, Bai Di casually stops the orb with a single hand, questioning his power. Her opponent is stunned that his attack was so easily caught and declares an end to the charade. Bai Di glares back, warning him not to underestimate her. He quickly leaps back, putting distance between them for his next move. With a smug grin, he reveals his control over the orb is more advanced than she knows. He remotely triggers the orb, causing it to detonate in a brilliant flash of light. The powerful explosion engulfs Bai Di, catching her completely off guard. Caught off guard, Bai Di recoils in shock from the sudden detonation. Her opponent strikes a smug pose, revealing he can manipulate the explosion's direction. But the prodigy gracefully kicks away the multiple energy projectiles now homing in on her. The instructors watch in amazement, impressed by the Heihuan sect's unique energy manipulation. The informant monk explains the fighter uses spiritual threads to control his attacks remotely. Unfazed, Bai Di casually bats away another energy sphere, showing her contempt for the attack. Her expression hardens with fury, deciding she has had enough of his cheap tricks. Feeling insulted, she finally draws her sword, determined to end the fight quickly. With a series of swift slashes, she effortlessly dices the energy orb into pieces. Now on the offensive, she glares at her opponent, ready to unleash her true power. Her opponent's defensive plate shatters under the force of her precise strike. He stares in wide-eyed horror, realizing the fight is already over. Crumpled on the ground, he grudgingly acknowledges the power of the woman he targeted. A single, decisive blow leaves him collapsed and defeated on the stage floor. The informant monk is left speechless, questioning how she so easily dismantled her opponent's technique. An instructor officially calls the match, declaring Biping the decisive winner. Biping stands unfazed by the crowd's wild cheers, her opponent a forgotten heap behind her. Wulingen watches intently, getting his first real look at a battle between skilled cultivators. The celebration is interrupted as a girl in the crowd is comically struck by a flying turkey leg. Wulingen's expression hardens, his focus sharpening for the challenge that awaits him. A pink-haired admirer swoons, recognizing Biping as the top female cultivator of her generation. The girl wistfully dreams of having such power, while Biping remains impassive. Wulingen is startled by the girl's imposing figure as she stands before him, holding a massive turkey leg. Xiaoyu flinches back, shocked by the sudden close-up view of the girl's physique. A sly grin spreads across Xiaoyu's face as she misinterprets Wulingen's interest. The pink-haired girl notices Wulingen's intense, drooling stare. She offers him the meat, questioning if he's hungry for food or something else entirely. Wulingen sheepishly admits he's just hungry from training, much to Xiaoyu's disbelief. Xiaoyu panics, realizing her romantic assumptions were completely wrong. He happily accepts the food, leaving Xiaoyu fuming that a stranger seems to understand him better. The defeated fighter is unceremoniously carried away on a stretcher as an instructor calls for the next match. While still eating, Wulingen asks the pink-haired girl for her name. She happily introduces herself as Murong Chan, a student who entered the academy last year. Xiaoyu expresses her surprise, questioning why a senior student is competing with the freshman. Murong sheepishly admits she was held back due to poor grades and is retaking the placement exam. Wulingen notes her calm appetite for someone who faces expulsion if she fails again. A nearby student leans in, preparing to share some crucial information about the mysterious senior. He reveals that Murong is from a famous alchemy family, revered throughout the 9 provinces. Her unique skill combines alchemy and cooking, turning potent ingredients into delicious food. Wulingen freezes in shock, realizing the turkey leg he just ate was actually a powerful spiritual pill. Wulingen expresses his embarrassment, but Murong Chan cheerfully brushes off his apology. She explains her simple motivation is that she can't bear to see anyone go hungry. Her simple act of kindness leaves Wulingen stunned, while Xiaoyu looks on in disbelief. He's completely won over by her generosity, much to Xiaoyu's growing irritation. Their conversation is interrupted by a crowd of admirers swarming around Biping. The prodigy remains completely stoic, unimpressed by the fawning crowd. Murong-chan joins the fans, nervously approaching Biping to ask for an autograph. Her eyes sparkle with pure, unadulterated admiration for the famous cultivator. Biping responds with a cold huff, clearly uninterested in her new fan. Wulingen and Xiaoyu simply observe the awkward exchange from the sidelines. Biping dismisses the autograph request, but cryptically warns Wulingen to be careful about the company he keeps. She then turns on him, furiously vowing to uncover the truth of what happened between them the previous night. As she storms away, the crowd's gossip intensifies, convinced the rumors about their relationship are true. Murong-chan's eyes sparkle as she asks if he's close with the prodigy, but he nervously brushes it off. She grabs his arm, desperately pleading for an introduction to her idol, leaving him completely flustered. A gruff instructor's angry shout cuts through the air, directed squarely at Murong-chan. From the stage, the instructor scolds her for being distracted and orders her to prepare for her upcoming match. Before leaving, Murong earnestly reminds Wulingen of her request, and he reluctantly agrees to try. Xiaoyu warns him to stay away from the odd, held-back student, but he defends Murong's character. He recalls his own past suffering, concluding that her simple act of kindness proves she can't be a bad person. The instructor sternly reminds Murong-chan that this is her final chance to pass the exam. She takes a deep breath, the pressure of the moment weighing heavily on her. With newfound resolve, she vows to win at least one match to avoid being sent home. A painful memory reveals her terror of returning to a dark past, fueling her desperation to stay. The instructor impatiently calls for contestant number 36 to take the stage. From the crowd, the hooded figure watches with a sinister interest as Murong walks forward. Her eyes widen in shock as she recognizes the familiar figure stepping up to be her opponent. The hooded figure adjusts his collar, a smug expression hinting at his confidence. He pulls down his hood, revealing a wicked grin as he announces he's her challenger. The instructor declares the match ready to begin, with Murong-chan now facing the story's self-proclaimed protagonist. The two opponents face off, one with fierce determination, the other with a smug, confident grin. The instructors gossip, revealing Murong's poor academic record despite her prestigious family background. A flashback shows her failing the alchemy test by cooking a meal instead of refining pills. They conclude that another loss in this placement test could result in her expulsion from the academy. A fellow student worries for her, noting that her culinary alchemy skills don't translate to combat prowess. The instructor takes his position on the stage, preparing to officiate the high-stakes match. With a dramatic leap, the instructor officially signals the start of the fight. Murong steals her resolve, knowing she absolutely cannot afford to lose this time. Her opponent smirks, casually noting that his first match is against an unexpectedly cute girl. He confidently envisions an easy victory, already picturing her defeated at his feet. He gets lost in a fantasy, imagining his victory will win him the affection of both Murong and Baidi. His daydream is cut short as Murong Chan lunges forward, throwing a powerful punch. The blow lands squarely on his face, snapping him out of his arrogant fantasy. He staggers back from the unexpected force of the attack, completely stunned. From the sidelines, Wu Linggen and Xiaoyu watch in confusion, baffled by his strange behavior. Master Dan's spirit scolds him for his carelessness, but he confidently dismisses the concern, citing his protagonist's status. Seeing her opponent dazed, Murong Chan prepares to launch another determined strike. She unleashes a second powerful punch, aiming to end the fight quickly. But this time he reacts instantly, catching her fist just before it makes contact. With a smug grin, he declares that he won't be caught off guard a second time, leaving Murong shocked by his speed. Refusing to be stopped, she flips through the air and lands a powerful kick squarely on his jaw. He stumbles back from the blow, forced to crouch as she lands gracefully, ready to press her advantage. Her expression hardens with fury, channeling her frustration into her next move. He responds with a mocking display of speed, creating afterimages and taunting her inability to land a clean hit. From the crowd, Wu Linggen cheers her on, much to Xiaoyu's visible annoyance. Murong Chan pants heavily, seemingly overwhelmed by his superior speed and technique. Desperate to win, she pulls out a massive loaf of spiritual bread, vowing not to be defeated. To her opponent's utter shock, she begins to force-feed herself the entire loaf. A fellow student explains to a stunned Wu Linggen that she's using spiritual food to boost her power. The student adds that her food acts like potent pills, expressing concern over her consuming so much at once. The student warns that consuming so much spiritual food at once could cause her body to overload. A brilliant flash of light erupts from Murong, catching her opponent completely by surprise. She emerges from the light, her clothes torn but her power and confidence soaring to new heights. Wu Linggen and Xiaoyu stare in disbelief, questioning the nature of her explosive transformation. Her opponent smirks through a sudden nosebleed, seemingly unfazed by the impressive display. He arrogantly dismisses her last-ditch effort, while Wu Linggen dryly points out his embarrassing reaction. Murong's expression hardens with resolve, vowing to fight on no matter how impossible it seems. Fueled by new power, she leaps into the air and unleashes a devastating kick from above. He casually blocks her enhanced strike, the sheer force of the impact shattering the stage beneath them. The spirit frantically warns him of her new power level, but the protagonist calmly confirms he is already aware. Murong Chan refuses to back down, unleashing another furious punch with her newfound strength. Her opponent finally decides to get serious, preparing to meet her head-on. Their fists meet in a blinding explosion of energy, shaking the entire stage. The hooded figure's confident smirk vanishes, replaced by genuine shock at her raw power. She follows up with a devastating kick, sending him crashing into the shattered arena floor. While Wu Linggen is impressed, Xiaoyu correctly deduces that Murong is forcing herself past her natural limits. Xiaoyu soberly notes that such an intense power-up can't be maintained for more than a few minutes. Murong stands exhausted amidst the rubble, her temporary power boost already fading. Panting and barely standing, she desperately hopes her all-out assault was enough to secure a victory. The instructors watch nervously, one fearing the worst for her opponent while the other remains calm. But the hooded figure rises from the rubble, his face a mask of pure fury as he declares the fight isn't over. His ego is bruised, shocked that a local girl could push him, a self-proclaimed time traveler, this far. Wiping blood from his face, he decides it's time to finally reveal his true power. From the cratered stage, he glares up at Murong, ready to unleash his full potential. With a chilling grin, he vows to stop holding back and end the fight for good. He vanishes in a blur of motion, moving faster than she can possibly track. Murong's eyes widen in disbelief, unable to comprehend his sudden burst of speed. He surrounds her with a flurry of afterimages, leaving her completely overwhelmed. He then launches himself high into the air, preparing a devastating attack from above. From the sidelines, Wu Linggen and Xiaoyu watch in horror, shouting a desperate warning. Murong looks up, her eyes wide with shock as the attack descends upon her. She's sent flying backward, caught in a whirlwind of energy and shattered rock. He lands gracefully, scoffing as she stumbles from the force of his initial strike. With a wicked grin, he summons a glowing blue lotus of pure energy, vowing she won't escape. He unleashes the pure heart fire lotus, sending the massive energy construct hurtling towards her. The lotus detonates in a cataclysmic explosion, completely engulfing Murong's silhouette. She cries out in agony, overwhelmed by the devastating force of the blast. Wu Linggen and Xiaoyu can only stare in disbelief at the overwhelming power on display. As the energy subsides, Murong is revealed, battered and barely standing, but still defiant. Xiaoyu quickly covers Wu Linggen's eyes, shielding him from the intense sight as the crowd recoils in shock. The instructors recognize his legendary technique, believing the match is already over. But Murong-chan staggers to her feet, questioning why he's hesitating. He smirks condescendingly, asking if she's finally ready to surrender. Her defiant glare is her only answer, refusing to admit defeat. In a desperate move, she pulls out another spiritual concoction and drinks it all. Her body erupts in a fiery aura as she pushes past her limits once more. Her opponent's smug confidence shatters, shocked that she can still fight. With a furious roar, she channels her newfound power and lunges forward. She unleashes a blindingly fast barrage of powerful strikes. The protagonist is forced onto the defensive, barely blocking the relentless assault with his sword. The crowd watches in disbelief, questioning Murong's sanity as she continues her frenzied assault. Wu Linggen wonders if her aura intensified because of a breakthrough, but Xiaoyu dismisses the idea. Xiaoyu explains Murong is forcing another power-up with more pills, pushing far beyond her body's natural limits. With a grim expression, Xiaoyu realizes Murong is sacrificing her own life force for this temporary power. Driven by sheer desperation, a battered Murong continues her attack, refusing to accept defeat. Her opponent barely holds on, a smirk forming as he endures the relentless barrage. Annoyed by her stubbornness, he decides to stop holding back and end the fight. He leaps into the air, trapping her within a massive, glowing construct called the Azure Lotus. The lotus detonates in a cataclysmic explosion, unleashing a devastating wave of energy. Murong is caught in the blast, sent flying backward as the overwhelming force engulfs her. He smirks, preparing to deliver the final blow with his glowing sword. A panicked instructor screams for the officiator to stop the match, fearing for Murong's life. Ignoring the call, the protagonist unleashes another devastating whirlwind attack. The instructor leaps forward, desperately shouting that the match is over. But he realizes with dawning horror that he is far too late to intervene. A defeated Murong closes her eyes, bracing for the inevitable impact. Her consciousness fades into a painful memory of her culinary creations being destroyed. A family member berates her for shaming their prestigious alchemy clan with her cooking. She passionately defends her craft, arguing that her food is a new form of alchemy. Her defiance is met with a harsh physical rebuke, as he declares cooking a disgrace to their name. Her family considered her a lost cause, planning to send her to the academy before marrying her off. The painful memory ends with her being cruelly disowned, called a worthless disgrace to her clan. Back on the stage, her will finally crumbles as she collapses in defeat. But a final surge of defiance flashes in her eyes, determined to prove the value of her craft. She sinks back into despair, questioning if she can ever truly change her destiny. Resigned to her fate, she closes her eyes and accepts the final blow. But just as the blade is about to strike, a hand suddenly stops its descent. Wu Linggen has leaped onto the stage, catching the sword and shielding Murong from the attack. He glares at the hooded figure, firmly stating that he won't allow him to hurt Murong. The protagonist is stunned, realizing he can't retract his weapon from Wu Linggen's powerful grip. The hooded figure smirks, mockingly acknowledging Wu Linggen's unexpected courage. An instructor finally intervenes, landing between the fighters and officially ending the brutal match. Despite the interference, the instructor declares the hooded figure the winner by default. The protagonist scoffs, smugly accepting the victory he nearly took too far. He turns his back on the scene, casually slinging his sword as he prepares to leave the stage. With a final glance, he warns Wu Linggen to survive his own match so they can settle things personally. Wu Linggen nervously scratches his head, naively promising to try his best to pass the first round. Xiaoyu fumes at his cluelessness, pointing out that he was just openly threatened. Their argument is cut short as Murong coughs, finally regaining consciousness behind them. She looks up at her rescuer with gratitude, thanking him for stepping in when no one else would. Murong expresses her disappointment, lamenting that she still couldn't win despite giving it her all. The weight of her failure finally hits her, and she breaks down in tears. The emotional moment is ruined as she suddenly gets sick, causing Wu Linggen and Xiaoyu to panic. She quickly reassures them she's fine, grabbing onto Wu Linggen for support. Murong sheepishly admits she just ate too much to Xiaoyu's exasperation. Wu Linggen offers to help her off the stage, and she gratefully accepts his kindness. But before they can leave, a menacing voice stops Wu Linggen in his tracks. The assassin from earlier stands on the stage, informing Wu Linggen that it's now his turn to fight. The announcer confirms his opponent is the notorious assassin, Wang Tieju, who smirks with confidence. Wu Linggen tells Xiaoyu to escort Murong to safety, receiving a heartfelt wish of good luck before he faces his opponent. Xiaoyu glares at Murong, internally questioning why she should have to care about the other girl. An instructor shouts for both sides to prepare, his voice signaling the start of the intense battle. Wu Linggen stands ready on the stage, facing the assassin and his enormous spiked weapon. The assassin mockingly tells Wu Linggen he's forfeited his last chance to survive. Wu Linggen remains completely silent, his stoic expression revealing none of his thoughts. The instructor officially begins the match, and the assassin immediately leaps into action. His massive weapon crashes down, shattering the stage floor with incredible force. From behind his pillar, the assassin grins menacingly, promising to finish the fight for good. Murong worries about the staggering power of the attack, but Xiaoyu remains completely unfazed. Xiaoyu confidently reassures her, stating that no attack is capable of bringing Wu Linggen down. As the dust settles, Wu Linggen stands perfectly still, facing the menacing assassin from across the stage. Wu Linggen watches with a puzzled expression, trying to anticipate his opponent's next move. The assassin takes a deep, dramatic breath, preparing to unleash his signature technique. With a mighty roar, he flexes his muscles, his clothes ripping away as he channels his power. A blinding flash of light erupts from the assassin, momentarily obscuring him from view. He then stomps the ground, revealing an unexpectedly delicate and lacy pink sock. He strikes a dramatic pose in a full set of matching pink lingerie, performing his iron pillar dance. The bizarre display is so overwhelming that Wu Linggen gets a sudden, intense nosebleed. The entire audience suffers the same fate, recoiling in a wave of shared shock and disgust. The informant monk's companion realizes the true nature of the attack, a technique that nauseates foes into submission. A colorful instructor recoils in disgust, declaring the bizarre display a stain on the Academy's honor. The informant monk's partner explains the visual assault is merely a diversion for the real attack. He gestures to the audience where everyone has collapsed from the overwhelming sight. Even Wu Linggen is affected, clutching his stomach and looking incredibly nauseous. Taking advantage of the distraction, the assassin leaps high, preparing to crush his weakened opponent. He slams his weapon down with devastating force, aiming to end the fight in one blow. But Wu Linggen narrowly dodges, as the assassin vows that he won't escape. The assassin scoffs in frustration, annoyed that his opponent is still standing. He launches into another dizzying attack, spinning his pillar in a chaotic dance. The audience is completely overwhelmed, with some crying in agony and others becoming physically ill from the spectacle. Murong suddenly understands the true nature of the attack, much to Xiaoyu's confusion. She reveals the assassin's grotesque display is just a cover for a more sinister trick, a toxic smoke released from his pillar. The assassin smirks, declaring the entire arena is now filled with his poison, guaranteeing his victory. Wu Linggen covers his mouth, his expression hardening as he feels the effects of the hidden attack. Xiaoyu and Murong are appalled by his underhanded tactics, calling his methods despicable. The assassin scoffs at their judgment, believing that in a real fight, any method is justified. From the crowd, the informant monk smirks, satisfied with the performance of his hired killer. His companion points out that even the monk was initially fooled, much to his surprise. The assassin brings his massive weapon crashing down, intent on finishing his opponent in agony. Wu Linggen stumbles, suddenly unable to move as the poison paralyzes his body and clouds his mind. Wu Linggen stares in horror, his body refusing to obey his commands. The assassin mocks his futile struggle, pointing out he can't even use a fraction of his strength. But with a final surge of will, Wu Linggen charges forward, determined to land one last blow. His desperate punch is met with a brutal counterstrike from the assassin's pillar. The impact sends him reeling, the force of the blow leaving him battered and bleeding. The assassin scoffs, unimpressed by the weak resistance and ready to continue the punishment. He unleashes a frenzied series of attacks, determined to beat his opponent into submission. Wu Lingyan is overwhelmed by the relentless barrage, taking hit after hit without being able to retaliate. Murong watches in disbelief at the one-sided beatdown, while Xiaoyu begs him to stop fighting. Xiaoyu screams for the instructors to stop the match, unable to watch the brutal display any longer. An instructor refuses to stop the fight, arguing that Wu Lingyan is still capable of defending himself. Wu Lingyan endures a relentless flurry of strikes, his body battered by the overwhelming assault. Xiaoyu watches helplessly as her friend is sent flying across the stage by a devastating blow. The assassin mockingly expresses his disappointment in Wu Lingyan's lack of strength. He raises his massive weapon, preparing to deliver a decisive final strike to his downed opponent. The weapon comes crashing down in a brutal, stylized impact that shakes the entire arena. His friends can only watch in speechless horror, believing the fight has finally ended. But the assassin's confident grin is suddenly replaced by a look of pure, utter shock. Against all odds, a bloodied Wu Lingyan has caught the massive weapon, stopping the attack with his bare hands. The assassin scoffs in disbelief, questioning his opponent's futile attempt to resist. With his remaining strength, Wu Lingyan resolves to pour everything he has into one final desperate punch. The assassin scoffs, completely underestimating the power behind his opponent's last-ditch effort. Wu Lingyan's fist lands squarely on his opponent, delivering a seemingly weak but well-placed strike. The assassin's smug confidence shatters, replaced by dawning horror as he realizes his fatal miscalculation. A brilliant flash of golden energy erupts from the point of impact, catching him completely off guard. The unexpected force sends the assassin flying backward, his massive weapon slipping from his grasp. He crashes into the arena wall with devastating force, sending a cloud of dust and debris into the air. The entire audience, including his friends, can only stare in stunned silence at the unbelievable reversal. As the dust settles, Wu Lingyan stands over his defeated opponent, who looks up in utter disbelief. The assassin recoils in agony, completely overwhelmed by the power of the seemingly simple punch. With a final undignified thud, the assassin collapses onto the stage, completely defeated. Battered but standing, Wu Lingyan clenches his fist, absorbing the hard-fought victory. The assassin stares up from the floor, his mind unable to process the impossible turn of events. He demands to know how Wu Lingyan overcame his poison and still managed such a decisive blow. Wu Lingyan simply clenches his bloodied fist, a silent testament to his hidden strength. He reveals that the final punch was merely a fraction of his true power, even while weakened. The assassin can only stare in utter terror, realizing he was fighting a true monster all along. An instructor, still processing the shocking upset, officially declares Wu Lingyan the winner. Wu Lingyan gives a small, relieved smile, glad to have survived his first official match. From the audience, Xiaoyu and Murong decide it's time to clear the lingering poison from the arena. The flamboyant instructor takes action, tossing a large green disc into the air. The disc spins rapidly, spraying a purifying mist across the entire arena. As the antidote rain falls, the paralyzed crowd begins to recover, their mobility returning. Wu Lingyan is surprised to feel his own strength and movement fully restored. Murong-chan joyfully rushes through the rain to congratulate him on his victory. She embraces him in a powerful celebratory hug, catching him completely off guard. From the sidelines, Xiaoyu seethes with jealousy, her anger boiling over at the sight. With a furious stomp, she prepares to march over and intervene. She forcefully yanks Wu Lingyan away from Murong, much to their surprise. Xiaoyu angrily confronts Murong, warning her to keep her distance from Wu Lingyan. Xiaoyu accuses Murong of having ulterior motives, while Murong insists her congratulations were sincere. From the crowd, the hooded protagonist seethes with jealousy, believing he should be the one getting all the attention. His companion begrudgingly admits that Wu Lingyan's power is far beyond his initial expectations. The companion then questions if the protagonist is truly sure he can defeat such a formidable opponent. Unfazed, the protagonist smirks, confidently declaring that failure is not an option for him. Their conversation is interrupted by a stern official who hands the protagonist a fine for setting fires during his match. The protagonist reacts angrily, but his companion quickly restrains him, warning him not to be impulsive. His friend reveals the official is the head of academy discipline and, more importantly, the dean's uncle. The red-haired official glares with an intimidating aura, showing he is not a man to be crossed. To make matters worse, his companion points out that the eccentric-looking dean is watching the entire exchange. The protagonist reluctantly hands over a bag of spirit stones, swallowing his pride to pay the initial fine. His compliance is met with another penalty, this time for attacking an official, leaving him utterly stunned. As his friend restrains him, he furiously agrees to pay the exorbitant fines, his anger barely contained. He glares at the departing official, silently vowing to make both him and the dean regret this day. His vengeful gaze then shifts to Wu Lingen, adding another name to his growing list of enemies. Across the arena, Wu Lingen shivers from a sudden, inexplicable chill, unaware of the new threat. The informant monk interrupts, showering Wu Lingen with praise for his impressive victory. He then cheekily admits the fight was a great opportunity to gather intel for the black market. An instructor's voice cuts through the crowd, calling the monk to the stage for the final match of the round. The monk's smug expression vanishes, replaced by dawning realization that his own fight is next. The informant monk takes a deep breath, facing his red-haired opponent on the empty stage. The opponent, Yujiaxue, stares back with a cold and indifferent expression. From the stands, the eccentric dean confirms to the discipline official that the fighter is indeed his useless grandson. He laments that his grandson's refusal to learn their family techniques forced him to enroll the boy in the academy. The crowd buzzes with this new information, with many students already planning to befriend the dean's handsome grandson. The monk scoffs at Wu Lingen's worry, confidently telling him not to underestimate his abilities. He brandishes his notebook, boasting that his superior intelligence will easily overcome any physical disadvantage. The monk smirks at his opponent, revealing he's already gathered plenty of intel on the dean's grandson. With newfound confidence, he vows to use the secret techniques of his Tianji sect to secure a victory. The instructor leaps dramatically into the air, officially signaling the beginning of the final match. The informant monk unleashes his divine technique, opening a mystical third eye on his forehead. Xiao Yu explains this is a rare Tianji sect skill that allows the user to glimpse into the future. Now facing the dean's grandson, the monk confidently prepares to put his unique abilities to the test. His opponent smirks and charges forward, eager to see the power of this legendary technique for himself. The monk focuses his power, initiating the Tianji deduction to analyze his foe. His third eye projects a detailed analysis, revealing his opponent's stats and fighting preferences. The deduction concludes with 85% certainty that his opponent will open with an earth-based technique. As predicted, the dean's grandson unleashes a powerful earth rock thrust, sending massive spikes across the stage. But the monk is nowhere to be seen, having already moved to a safe position far from the impact. He smirks from a distance, boasting that he had already calculated and evaded the predictable attack. Wu Lingen is surprised by the monk's agility, but Xiao Yu reveals it's a result of his heavenly eye technique. She explains the eye channels the divine thoughts of the Tianji ancestor, giving him godlike perception. A golden spiritual projection of the ancestor appears behind the monk, confirming his connection to a higher power. Unimpressed, the dean's grandson charges forward, his fists glowing with fiery red energy. The monk's third eye calculates his opponent's next move, predicting a 90% chance of a close-range martial arts attack. As predicted, his opponent uses a powerful technique to close the distance in an instant. The red-haired fighter appears before him, ready to unleash a powerful strike. Guided by his divine insight, the monk calmly prepares to block the telegraphed blow. He smirks, certain that his perfect calculation will allow him to effortlessly stop the attack. But his confidence shatters as the punch lands squarely on his face, completely ignoring his attempted block. The devastating blow sends the informant monk flying across the stage, his perfect calculations utterly shattered. The dean's grandson stares coldly, his expression unchanging after landing the decisive strike. On the ground, the monk looks up in a daze, his face comically swollen from the unexpected impact. From the sidelines, Wu Lingen and Xiao Yu cry out in shock at their friend's sudden defeat. Even in defeat, the monk tries to update his notes, realizing he forgot to calculate the massive gap in their power. He finally succumbs to the pain and collapses, dropping his notebook and ending the match. The instructor congratulates the victorious grandson, who looks down at his defeated opponent without emotion. From the stands, the dean notes his grandson's progress, but laments his stubborn refusal to use their family's techniques. The red-haired fighter stands alone on the stage, sensing his grandfather's distant observation. He turns to face the stands, his stoic expression offering no hint of his feelings toward his family. The instructor dismisses the victorious grandson, who remains impassive on the stage. Wu Lingyan carries the defeated monk, genuinely complimenting his impressive third-eye technique. The monk reassures him of his own strength, while Wu Lingyan wishes he could learn such a cool skill. An instructor announces the second round will begin immediately with randomly selected opponents. The other instructors gossip amongst themselves, questioning the randomness of the impromptu matchups. The protagonist worries about the random pairings, but his companion tells him not to fret. His friend smirks, revealing that many other students also have a grudge against Wu Lingyan. The instructor dramatically crumples the drawn lots, declaring the first match has been set. He unfurls the papers, preparing to announce the first pairing of the second round. Wu Lingyan's name is called, and he looks up in surprise, realizing he's up next. The instructor reveals Wu Lingyan's opponent is the self-proclaimed protagonist, who smirks with confidence. Xiaoyu questions the random pairing, suspecting the match was deliberately arranged. An instructor overhears and defensively insists the academy would never target its new disciples. The protagonist leaps onto the stage, smugly agreeing that the instructor would never show favoritism. He taunts Wu Lingyan from the stage, asking if his hesitation is due to fear of his strength. Wu Lingyan silences Xiaoyu's angry retort, his expression hardening with focus. He declares his resolve, knowing he can't back down if he wants to secure a spot in a better class. Murong finds his serious expression cool, much to Xiaoyu's jealous annoyance, while the monk notes the love triangle. Wu Lingyan steps onto the stage, ready to face his formidable and arrogant opponent. The protagonist smirks, mockingly surprised that Wu Lingyan actually dared to come up and fight him. With a cruel grin, the protagonist launches a sneak attack, vowing to settle all their grudges at once. Xiaoyu furiously protests the sneak attack, but the officiator nonchalantly claims he already started the match. She fumes with righteous anger, convinced the entire academy is conspiring against her beloved Lingyan. Wu Lingyan skillfully parries a relentless series of powerful strikes from his opponent. The protagonist presses his advantage, moving with blinding speed to overwhelm Wu Lingyan. The informant monk shouts a desperate warning, realizing the protagonist has appeared behind Wu Lingyan. But Wu Lingyan has already vanished, reappearing above his foe for a surprise counterattack. With glowing eyes and a fist charged with golden energy, he unleashes a powerful strike. The protagonist smirks, mockingly complimenting his opponent's speed just before the blow lands. Wu Lingyan is suddenly blasted back, caught in a massive explosion of blue energy unleashed by his opponent. Wu Lingyan is sent flying, barely defending himself against the torrent of blue flames. The protagonist smirks, revealing he's figured out his opponent's style and plans to win with long-range attacks. Landing far away, Wu Lingyan recoils from the intense heat of the flames on his hand. He looks on with growing concern, realizing the true danger of his opponent's power. With a roar, the protagonist unleashes his full power, summoning two massive dragons made of pure blue flame. Wu Lingyan is forced back by the overwhelming heat, knowing he can't block the attack directly. From the crowd, the protagonist's companion cheers, urging him to push his opponent into a corner. Xiaoyu watches with a worried expression as the colossal flame dragons dominate the stage. She wonders if Wu Lingyan will finally be forced to reveal his hidden demonic techniques. Pushed to the very edge of the arena, Wu Lingyan realizes he has run out of room to retreat. The protagonist smirks, vowing to end the fight as he unleashes his twin dragons. The massive flame dragons roar as they bear down on the cornered Wu Lingyan. With no other choice, Wu Lingyan decides it's finally time to reveal his true power. His friends watch with anticipation, wondering what incredible technique he will use. He forms a hand sign, preparing to unleash what he calls an immortal technique. To everyone's surprise, he performs a simple chest exercise with immense spiritual power. The protagonist is enraged by the absurdity of the technique, which Wu Lingyan claims he invented himself. Impressed despite himself, the protagonist warns that he has plenty more tricks up his sleeve. Wu Lingyan effortlessly disperses the powerful blue flames with a simple command. The dissipated energy reforms into countless glowing lotuses, surrounding him in a beautiful but deadly trap. The protagonist smirks, confident that Wu Lingyan can't possibly handle the sheer density of his lotus attack. Undeterred, Wu Lingyan decides to counter with an even more powerful immortal technique. He plants his foot firmly, preparing to unleash his next bizarrely named move. Wu Lingyan performs a side-to-side jump, creating a flurry of afterimages that weave through the deadly lotuses. The protagonist's companion accuses him of stealing a secret technique, but the monk dismisses it as simple high-speed movement. Wu Lingyan's rapid movements create powerful air currents, disrupting the formation of the energy lotuses. The protagonist grits his teeth in frustration, realizing his opponent is using the airflow to neutralize his attack. Changing tactics, he channels his power, trapping Wu Lingen within a field of pure fire energy. He then unleashes a new technique, encasing Wu Lingen in a massive prison of fiery rock pillars. Murong questions how he can use an earth technique, while Xiaoyu senses something is off, detecting no actual earth energy. The informant monk excitedly identifies the move as a signature elemental switching technique, much to Xiaoyu's annoyance. The protagonist smirks, realizing he can exploit the five elements principle that the locals seem to ignore. The dean dismisses his official's concern, ordering him to simply record the impressive technique for later study. But the official is actually horrified by the exorbitant cost of the spirit rock crystals being used in the attack. The protagonist boasts internally that by understanding this world's rules, his techniques have become limitless. With a confident grin, he prepares to unleash the full power of his newly formed earth-based attack. Wu Lingen is trapped as the protagonist's fire energy transforms into a devastating rock-piercing blast. The massive crystal prison begins to crumble, raining sharp debris down on the trapped Wu Lingen. From the sidelines, Xiaoyu and the monk cry out in alarm, fearing for their friend's safety. The discipline official comically despairs over the destruction of his precious spirit stones, earning a glare from the dean. Murong, armed with a giant drumstick, declares she's intervening to save Wu Lingen. Xiaoyu quickly grabs her, warning her not to add to his troubles. She confidently reassures Murong that such a simple technique is no threat to Wu Lingen. The protagonist dusts his hands, smugly believing a local could never match the child of destiny. His confidence shatters as the ground beneath him begins to rumble violently. The entire rock prison construct cracks and glows, threatening to burst from an internal force. The audience panics at the sudden tremors, fearing the arena itself is collapsing. Xiaoyu, however, smirks with absolute certainty, knowing Wu Lingen is truly invincible. With a massive burst of golden energy, the rock prison completely shatters from within. Wu Lingen is revealed, effortlessly destroying the attack with another bizarre, immortal technique, the super high-speed bench press. The protagonist stares in disbelief, unable to comprehend how his ultimate technique was so easily shattered. Xiaoyu smugly explains that this is nothing compared to Wu Lingen's daily training, leaving Murong speechless. Wu Lingen casually dusts off his hands, complaining that the immense weight was still too light. His opponent's pride is shattered, refusing to accept that a mere local could humiliate him. Convinced of his destiny as the chosen one, he vows that he will not be defeated by a random nobody. He channels his power once more, combining elemental forces to create an even heavier attack. With a furious roar, he unleashes a devastating thunderslash, aiming to overwhelm his opponent. The discipline official sighs, noting that the protagonist's rage has completely clouded his judgment. He points out that his opponent has forgotten Wu Lingen's true specialty, as Wu Lingen prepares another immortal technique. Wu Lingen effortlessly counters with a body rotation exercise, deflecting the massive energy blade with a simple spin. The deflected energy blade carves a destructive path across the arena floor. The protagonist stares in horror, realizing his prized mysterious ruler has been cracked. His eyes widen as he sees the reflection of Wu Lingen's fist about to connect. A massive shockwave of golden energy erupts from Wu Lingen's powerful counterpunch. The protagonist barely manages to block the final blow, stopping the fist just short of his face. Wu Lingen stands over his kneeling opponent, calmly declaring his victory. In the crowd, several female students cheer wildly, completely captivated by Wu Lingen's power. The protagonist's companion fumes, furious that he lost to someone with no cultivation. Without another word, Wu Lingen turns and walks away, leaving his defeated rival in the dust. The protagonist screams in rage, unable to accept his humiliating defeat. Refusing to accept defeat, he calls upon a mysterious spectral elder named Dan Lao to lend him strength. A flashback reveals his life before transmigration, a moment before a fateful accident. He recalls the moment of his death, standing frozen in the path of an out-of-control truck. He remembers waking up in this new world, confused and disoriented after his transmigration. Reborn as a disgraced young master, he was constantly bullied and humiliated by his peers. But he vowed to change his fate, relying on a mysterious, powerful ring he now possessed. The ring housed the remnant soul of a powerful cultivator, the alchemist master Dan Lao. Under the spirit's guidance, he quickly cultivated his strength, breaking through to a new level of power. With his newfound abilities, he ensured that all who had once wronged him faced dire consequences. His incredible progress finally earned him the respect and admiration he had always craved from his family. He recalls his ultimate goal, to become clan leader and prove he's no longer the weakling he once was. In the present, he refuses to accept defeat, believing his cheat-like abilities make him invincible against a random opponent. The spirit in his ring sighs, reluctantly agreeing to lend his power to the stubborn transmigrator. Danlao's spirit manifests, warning that the borrowed power has a strict time limit as he unleashes it. The transmigrator confidently accepts the surge of energy, his body glowing with a powerful golden light. From the sidelines, the head of discipline senses something is wrong with the transmigrator's sudden power-up. The spirit reveals he can only grant a temporary boost, but will also unlock the use of his 5 elemental flames. With his eyes now glowing ominously, the transmigrator channels the elemental cycle to create a new, powerful attack. He unleashes a devastating blast of purple frost, aiming to overwhelm his opponent with the new technique. The icy attack completely engulfs Wu Lingen, trapping him in a massive prison of frost. Wu Lingen shivers uncontrollably, trapped within the transmigrator's icy water prison. Xiaoyu watches in disbelief, realizing her rival's power has suddenly skyrocketed to the Golden Core realm. Murong furiously accuses him of cheating, but his companion smugly dismisses her claims without evidence. The transmigrator boasts that the water prison will sap Wu Lingen's strength, no matter how powerful he is. He channels the elemental cycle once more, preparing a new attack by transforming earth energy into metal. With a smirk, he unleashes a barrage of sharp iron thorns, aiming to finish his trapped opponent. But Wu Lingen counters with another bizarre immortal technique, a rapid swimming motion that dodges every spike. Annoyed by the escape, the transmigrator switches tactics, vowing to stop him with another elemental shift. He summons dark, powerful vines that erupt from the water, ensnaring the agile newcomer. Wu Lingen struggles against the crushing grip, finally feeling the overwhelming power of a Golden Core level attack. Pushed to his limit, Wu Lingen bites his own arm, drawing blood to awaken his hidden potential. The spirit warns his master against using his own life force, but the transmigrator knows he only has one shot left. He channels the 5 elements, preparing to combine them into a single devastating final attack. The transmigrator unleashes a massive beam of primordial energy, aiming to obliterate his trapped opponent. The attack's shockwave rips through the stands, sending the terrified audience scrambling for their lives. The head of discipline and the dean are forced to intervene, shielding the crowd from the destructive blast. With a powerful shout, the head of discipline erects a massive red barrier to contain the chaotic energy. A student marvels at the dean's power, while also cheekily noticing his height-enhancing shoes. Refusing to be ordinary again, the transmigrator screams in defiance, vowing to secure his victory at any cost. But inside the elemental storm, a brilliant golden light erupts as Wu Lingen finally unleashes his own power. With a calm apology, Wu Lingen prepares to put a little more force into his counterattack. The transmigrator can only stare in disbelief, his confidence completely shaken by this turn of events. Fueled by the memory of his friends, Wu Lingen declares he has a greater reason to win and prepares another immortal technique. He unleashes his ultimate move, a simple, unadorned, straight punch. The seemingly basic punch collides with the elemental beam, shattering it on impact. The transmigrator's face contorts in shock as he's overwhelmed by the raw, physical power. Wu Lingen's golden energy completely overpowers the primordial blast, creating a massive explosion. The resulting shockwave obliterates the transmigrator's attack, engulfing the arena in light. The audience breathes a sigh of relief, realizing the dean's barrier just saved their lives from the aftershock. The head of discipline stares into the dust, pondering how a punch with no spiritual energy could be so devastating. As the dust settles, Wu Lingen stands alone and victorious on the ruined arena floor. The defeated transmigrator sits in disbelief as his spirit companion regretfully confirms their loss. His friend tries to stop him from continuing, but the transmigrator rages, refusing to accept defeat. Back in the stands, Murong comforts a weary Wu Lingen, grabbing his arm as Xiaoyu watches closely. She cheerfully offers him a giant leg of meat, pulling it from an unconventional storage spot. Xiaoyu angrily scolds Murong for her strange choice of inventory space, leaving Wu Lingen confused. Murong innocently explains it's the most spacious area she has, causing Xiaoyu to react with shocked disbelief. As Wu Lingen happily eats, Xiaoyu silently vows to learn to cook to thwart her new rival's advances. An instructor angrily orders the group off the stage, but Xiaoyu retorts, accusing him of singling them out. Mid-chew, Wu Lingen has a sudden moment of realization, as if remembering something important. Wu Lingen suddenly rushes toward his defeated rival, holding 2 giant legs of meat. He kindly offers a piece to the transmigrator, assuming he must be hungry after their fight. The transmigrator recoils in disgust, sweating as the offered food is shoved in his face. Enraged, he slaps the offering away, refusing what he sees as an act of pity. As the transmigrator storms off, Wu Lingen stops Xiaoyu from retaliating, showing surprising empathy for his rival. He explains to a confused Xiaoyu that he only did it because they're from the same hometown. Both Xiaoyu and Murong are left completely baffled by this unexpected revelation. From the crowd, the stout student scoffs at his friend's sore loser attitude. He grits his teeth, realizing he now has to come up with his own plan to deal with Wu Lingen. His scheming is cut short as a hand suddenly slaps a punishment notice directly onto his face. The head of discipline issues another fine, this time to Tianji for the minor offense of spitting. Tianji reluctantly pays up, internally vowing to make Wu Lingen pay for this string of humiliations. Miles away, Wu Lingen suddenly sneezes, feeling a chill as Xiaoyu looks on. Murong offers him a jar of soup, but he casually dismisses the feeling, guessing someone is just thinking of him. His attention is suddenly caught by a new challenger calling his name from across the ruined arena. A stern, white-haired girl with intense eyes confirms she is the one who called him out. Her companion tries to remind her it's not her turn to fight, but she ignores him completely. She walks toward Wu Lingen's group, acknowledging that he possesses some surprising skill. Her hooded subordinate notes her bluntness has already made enemies, surprised by Wu Lingen's recent victory. The girl points accusingly, vowing to personally expose the dark powers she believes he's hiding. Wu Lingen is left utterly confused by her accusation of being a demonic cultivator. The girl ignores him, turning to an instructor to request an early match, which he agrees to if she draws an opponent. She cuts the instructor off, declaring she has no need to draw a random opponent. With a dramatic flourish, she draws her sword and challenges every remaining student except Wu Lingen to fight her at once. The crowd scoffs at her arrogance, but her hooded companion coolly confirms that her high cultivation level justifies her confidence. From the sidelines, the transmigrator smirks in admiration, only for Tianji to point out that her attention is solely on Wu Lingen. Tianji advises him to be more humble now that he knows Wu Lingen is also a transmigrator, but his friend just smirks menacingly. The transmigrator declares that having a fated rival from his world only confirms his status as the chosen one, much to Tianji's annoyance. He confidently vows to overcome this new challenge and crush all his rivals beneath his feet. As the head of discipline questions the breach of rules, the dean simply smiles, approving of the young challenger's fiery spirit. The head of discipline questions her bold challenge, but she calmly confirms her intent, eager to move things along. To everyone's surprise, the head of discipline is thrilled by her audacity, eagerly anticipating the chaotic battle. An official wastes no time, shouting to signal the start of the massive free-for-all. Enraged by her arrogance, the remaining students unite, launching a coordinated assault against the lone challenger. Unfazed by the group attack, she dismisses their efforts and prepares to unleash her own sword technique. She unleashes a dazzling defensive maneuver, a whirlwind of countless glowing swords that surrounds her. One challenger attempts to brute force his way through her defense, channeling immense power into his weapon. She smirks condescendingly, amused that he would dare to challenge her in a contest of pure power. Her technique easily deflects his attack in a brilliant flash of light, shattering his confidence. The challenger's weapon is instantly shattered, proving her sword art is on a completely different level. The deflected attack erupts in a blinding flash, blasting the challengers away with overwhelming force. The Blade Sect's young master is thrown across the arena, utterly powerless against her technique. He crashes to the ground in a heap, his swift defeat shocking the onlookers. The dean's grandson acknowledges her as a top-tier genius for defeating the Blade Sect's heir so easily. The stout student marvels at the formidable sword art of the Sword Peak as she stands unfazed by the chaos. The stout student questions why the dean's grandson isn't joining the fight, but he scoffs at the ridiculous suggestion. He confidently declares he only fights battles he can win, much to the stout student's irritation. The crowd is stunned as she levitates on her sword, a skill they mistakenly believe is exclusive to Golden Core cultivators. But Yu Jiaxue explains it's a special sword peak technique, using the sword itself for flight, a fact the stout student confirms. Floating above the arena, she gathers her power, her eyes glowing with intensity as she prepares her next move. Her hooded companion fumes, comically accusing her of being shameless for obscuring the view of her technique. She calmly raises her blade, summoning a storm of countless glowing swords for her next attack. The glowing blades rain down, overwhelming the terrified challengers in a devastating torrent of steel. In a flash, the battle is over, with every challenger lying defeated on the arena floor. Murong marvels at the display, but Xiaoyu confidently asserts that she's still no match for Wu Linggen. Her hooded companion stumbles back, bleeding from his face and sputtering in confusion. He furiously questions why he was hit, while another student cheekily suggests it was a deliberate warning for his prying eyes. A mysterious, masked figure with purple hair descends from the stands, moving through the crowd. The masked figure smirks, pleased to see that their young miss has grown even stronger. The official declares Biping the winner, officially ending the chaotic free-for-all. The white-haired challenger, Biping, turns her intense gaze toward the crowd. She calls out to Wu Linggen, declaring it's finally time for them to settle their score. Wu Linggen approaches, suggesting she rest after her big fight, but she dismisses the idea. She scoffs, claiming that defeating the other students barely used any of her energy. The dean and head of discipline agree these two are the strongest, eagerly anticipating their showdown. The head of discipline is comically interrupted as he dispatches a swarm of medical drones. The small flying devices descend upon the arena to clear away the defeated students. The drones unceremoniously grab the injured students, much to their pained surprise. Wu Linggen sweats nervously, trying to de-escalate the sudden and intense challenge. But she cuts him off, vowing to expose his true demonic nature during their battle. Wu Linggen nervously tries to explain the misunderstanding, claiming he doesn't even have a cultivation base. She presses her sword closer, unconvinced by his pleas and questioning his light-hearted dismissal of her accusation. A traumatic memory flashes through her mind, revealing a past tragedy that fuels her hatred for demonic cultivators. His words only seem to enrage her further as she channels a powerful sword art, her blade glowing with energy. She unleashes a massive pillar of sword chi, a heaven-piercing attack aimed directly at him. He realizes the immense spiritual power behind the attack is too strong to block directly. Wu Linggen counters with another bizarre immortal technique, a powerful vertical leap that shatters the ground. He rockets into the air, narrowly avoiding the devastating blast of sword energy passing beneath him. The intense light of the attack grazes past him as he continues to ascend, having barely escaped. From the stands, the dean's grandson marvels at his ability to achieve such height with pure physical power alone. Wu Linggen breathes a sigh of relief mid-air, believing he's successfully evaded the attack. But his relief is short-lived as Biping pursues him into the sky, taunting his lack of options. She channels her power, preparing to unleash another devastating sword art from above. A massive beam of sword energy crashes down, targeting the now grounded Wu Linggen. The attack slams into the arena floor, erupting in a powerful explosion of energy. Biping lands gracefully amidst the chaos, confident in her overwhelming assault. The head of discipline worries about the danger, but the dean is thoroughly entertained by the high-stakes battle. Biping's confidence turns to shock as she realizes Wu Linggen is preparing another of his immortal techniques. He catches the massive blade of pure energy with his bare hands, effortlessly stopping it in its tracks. While Murong stares in disbelief, Xiaoyu smirks, smugly reminding her that Wu Linggen's power is beyond imagination. Frustrated, Biping vows to force the demonic cultivator to reveal his true power. She unleashes her ultimate move, a devastating rain of 10,000 swords from above. The torrent of glowing blades descends, aiming to completely overwhelm her opponent on the ground. But Wu Linggen simply takes a deep breath, preparing to counter with another bizarre technique. In a flash of movement, he begins intercepting the countless falling swords with impossible speed. Biping stares in disbelief as Wu Linggen stands unharmed, having caught every single one of her blades. From the stands, the head of discipline gets a strange sense of déjà vu watching the absurd scene unfold. Wu Linggen calmly gathers the captured blades into a swirling ball as Biping charges forward again. He casually pats the ball of swords, advising his opponent to concede defeat as she is no match for him. Enraged by his arrogance, Biping shatters his makeshift weapon, refusing to accept his words. Fueled by a painful memory, Biping vows she will never surrender to a demonic cultivator. A flashback reveals a younger Biping being praised by her mother for her prodigious talent at only 5 years old. Her mother lovingly encourages her, believing she will one day become the strongest cultivator of Sword Peak. The mother's praise fills the young girl with pride and a sense of purpose. But their tender moment is interrupted by the arrival of her stern and disapproving father. He scolds his wife for coddling their daughter, believing such pride is a weakness that will hinder her future. Her mother furiously defends her, but her father insists that true strength comes from will, not just talent. Frustrated, the mother takes her daughter away, leaving her husband to watch them go. She explains to a young Biping that she must be exceptionally strong to lead their sect one day. Taking her mother's words to heart, the young girl immediately begins to cultivate, determined to prove her worth. Her father turns away, promising to check on her progress later while she meditates under her mother's watch. Once out of sight, his stern facade crumbles, his expression hidden in shadow. He breaks down in tears, overcome with pride but regretting his harsh words. His wife suddenly appears, having heard his emotional outburst from a distance. She questions his tough act, but he insists his strictness is necessary for their daughter's future. His wife dryly asks if his fatherly dignity involves crying in secret, leaving him speechless. He defends his actions, explaining that hardship now is better than a tragic end in the dangerous cultivation world. His expression softens with pride, confidently declaring his daughter will be the greatest genius of her time. As the young Biping continues her training, her mother worries about the cold night air. The scene fades to a shot of the desolate sword peak, highlighting the lonely path she walks. The flashback continues, showing a young Biping meditating alone in the cold night. She grits her teeth in frustration, feeling herself on the verge of a breakthrough to the next cultivation stage. Her resolve hardens, believing that becoming stronger is the only way to stop her parents' arguments. As she focuses, a sinister, shadowy figure suddenly appears behind her, drawn to her power. Her mother arrives with a tray of snacks, gently telling her daughter not to push herself so hard. But the tender moment is shattered by the appearance of a terrifying demonic cultivator with glowing red eyes. The mother stares in horror, recognizing the demonic presence as it looms over their home. In her shock, she drops the tray, the snacks scattering across the ground. The demonic cultivator attacks, and her mother leaps forward to shield her unsuspecting daughter. A violent clash of energy erupts as her mother intercepts the fatal blow, sacrificing herself for her child's future. The young girl screams in anguish, witnessing the ultimate sacrifice. She reaches out, a phantom memory of her mother's touch still fresh in her mind. Her mother, bleeding but resolute, urges her daughter to flee from the looming demonic threat. With a final push, she sends her child to safety, facing the devastating attack alone. A massive explosion rips through the night, signaling the tragic conclusion of the confrontation. Alerted by the blast, her father and his disciples rush toward the scene, fearing the worst. His eyes widen in pure horror as he takes in the devastating sight before him. He finds his wife shielding their daughter, her life fading as the demonic cultivator stands victorious. Fueled by grief and rage, the father unleashes a powerful binding technique to subdue the monster. Glowing spiritual chains erupt from the ground, wrapping tightly around the demonic entity. The father leaps into the air, unleashing a powerful sword technique to execute the bound demon. With a final, devastating slash, he vows to obliterate the demonic presence once and for all. He then rushes to his fallen wife, holding her as a young Biping calls out in despair. The horrified girl points out her mother's grave injuries, but her father can only look on with grim acceptance. With her final breath, the mother offers a faint, heartbreaking apology to her daughter. The young girl cries out in anguish, blaming herself for not being more careful. Her mother's hand falls limp, her life slipping away as her daughter screams in denial. She desperately tries to wake her mother, refusing to accept the tragic reality of her loss. Her father's face darkens with sorrow, reminding her of the cruel irony that today is her birthday. He clenches his fist, his immense grief hardening into a cold, unshakable resolve. Her grieving father tearfully bestows her mother's sword upon her, entrusting her with her own protection. Back in the present, she vows to never lose to a demonic cultivator, ignoring Wu Lingen's frantic denials. She grits her teeth, determined to destroy all demons, leaving Wu Lingen confused by her sudden tears. Biping warns him that her normal moves are useless, preparing to unleash something far more powerful. She recalls her father's warning not to use this technique before the Golden Core stage, but feels she has no choice. With a powerful shout, she channels her energy, preparing to unleash a forbidden sword art. The head of discipline recognizes the move as Sword Peak's ultimate technique for dealing with demonic cultivators. His expression suddenly shifts to alarm, realizing the immense danger of using such a forbidden art. The technique's backlash causes her to cough up blood, shocking a concerned Wu Lingen. She scorns his pity, unleashing glowing chains that instantly bind her surprised opponent. She leaps into the air, announcing the name of her ultimate sword technique. With a furious cry, she unleashes a devastating wave of energy designed to obliterate demonic cultivators. The colossal energy slash carves through the arena, completely engulfing Wu Lingen. Murong watches with concern, but Xiaoyu smirks, completely confident that the attack is meaningless to Wu Lingen. Landing gracefully, she confidently states that her specialized technique is more than enough to destroy him. But from within the dust cloud, a dismissive clicking of the tongue signals her attack has failed. Her confidence instantly vanishes, replaced by utter shock as she realizes the impossible. The dust clears to reveal Wu Lingen standing completely unharmed, casually dusting off his clothes. Stunned, she demands to know why her ultimate technique had absolutely no effect on him. He calmly suggests a simple possibility. He's not a demonic cultivator. She refuses to believe him, convinced there must be a flaw in her technique as she ignores his protests. She theorizes that her failure is due to not yet reaching the Golden Core stage, leaving her ultimate move incomplete. Blaming her own weakness, she believes a Golden Core cultivation level would have guaranteed her victory. From the stands, the head of discipline senses the dangerous turn in her mental state. Her aura flares with renewed intensity as she vows to break through her limits and eradicate all demonic cultivators. The head of discipline suddenly appears behind her, placing a hand on her shoulder to stop her from losing control. He calmly declares the match is over, much to her surprise. The transmigrator speculates the match was stopped to prevent Biping from actually killing Wu Lingen. However, the mysterious masked figure smirks, cryptically stating that it's too late to intervene. The masked figure points, sending a strange, glowing red object flying toward the arena. The strange red object burrows into Biping's back, unnoticed by the head of discipline. The head of discipline suddenly senses the sinister presence, turning with a questioning look. His expression instantly shifts to one of pure horror as he realizes the grave danger. A malevolent red aura erupts from Biping's body, taking the form of a shadowy demon. The demonic entity fully manifests, letting out a silent but terrifying roar. The head of discipline curses his own carelessness for allowing a demonic cultivator to infiltrate the arena. He immediately orders the other instructors to evacuate the students while he prepares to face the new threat. Biping stumbles forward, dazed and confused by the sudden overwhelming change. The towering demonic entity looms over her, its form crackling with dark energy. As the demon's voice echoes in her mind, she looks up in terror, finally understanding the horrifying truth. The demonic entity looms over them, its shadowy form radiating immense power. Paralyzed by fear, Biping questions why her body won't obey her will to fight. The head of discipline shields the terrified girl, vowing the demon will not harm her. Meanwhile, the masked figure smirks, finding the escalating chaos highly entertaining. He signals for his plan to commence, unleashing his own dark, ominous energy. Suddenly, more shadowy demonic entities erupt from the ground, cackling with malevolent glee. An instructor shouts an alarm, realizing the academy has been infiltrated by multiple demons. The head of discipline orders his subordinate to evacuate the students while he prepares to face the demonic swarm alone. He confidently declares his special constitution makes him impervious to their attacks. Activating his immovable Vajra technique, he endures the demonic assault with unshakable resolve. The dean's grandson grudgingly admits the instructors are more capable than they appear. Xiaoyu watches the chaos, sensing something is very wrong with the head of discipline's fighting style. Despite being pummeled, the head of discipline remains standing, comically dazed but unbroken. The dean steps forward, his expression grim as he resolves to protect the students at all costs. He unleashes a powerful, fiery counterattack, blasting back one of the larger demonic figures. Channeling a forbidden art, the dean's eyes glow with immense power as he burns his own life force. He unleashes a devastating rain of fire from above, engulfing the demonic swarm in a blazing inferno. While one student marvels at the display, the dean's grandson nonchalantly dismisses his grandfather's power. The powerful technique takes its toll, causing the dean to recoil from the immense backlash. Seeing the demon still active, a determined Biping prepares to rejoin the fight, vowing to end it herself. But as she lunges forward, she realizes with a jolt that she won't make it in time. Her determined charge is cut short by a sudden, shocking development. Wu Lingen appears in a flash, intercepting the demon with a powerful blow to protect her. A stunned Biping demands to know why he would intervene to save her after their intense battle. He comically asks if the demon was her pet, earning an enraged denial from the flustered swordswoman. She clarifies her confusion, asking why he'd help after she relentlessly accused him of being evil. He smiles, explaining that his father taught him what truly matters is the kindness within a person's heart. Wu Lingyan declares that because he believes she's a good person, he simply couldn't let her be defeated. Her moment of shock is broken as she spots two more demons lunging at Wu Lingyan from behind. Unfazed, Wu Lingyan turns to face the new threat, preparing to unleash another of his signature immortal techniques. He counters with another bizarre physical technique, a powerful twisting body strike. The two demonic entities are instantly shattered by the sheer force of his blow. The Dean watches with intrigue, impressed that Wu Lingyan could defeat such a creature. Inspired by the display, the Dean resolves to finish off the remaining demons with renewed vigor. He unleashes his own barrage of golden energy, bombarding the largest demonic beast. Despite the powerful assault, the demonic beast begins to reform, rising from the rubble. Biping grits her teeth in frustration as the demon rises again, preparing to strike. The demon transforms into an even more terrifying form, its malevolent energy surging. Wu Lingyan calmly prepares another of his impossible immortal techniques to counter the new threat. The towering demon raises a massive, shadowy weapon, preparing to crush both fighters beneath it. Refusing to stand by, a resolute Biping declares she must rejoin the battle. She lunges at the colossal demon, unleashing a powerful sword strike to intercept its attack. Her blade connects with the shadowy entity in a brilliant flash of light. A brief smile crosses her face, confident that her strike has found its mark. But the demon remains unharmed, as Wu Lingyan notes her inherent goodness from afar. The creature's form dissolves, spreading a sinister, corrosive red mist across the arena. Biping stands in shock as the toxic fog quickly envelops her. She suddenly falters, realizing the mist is a potent poison as Wu Lingyan watches with concern. He recognizes the toxic fog is far more dangerous than anything the transmigrator used. Wu Lingyan leaps into action, intercepting a shadowy attack aimed at the vulnerable swordswoman. Biping cries out a warning as the massive demon brings its weapon down on them. Wu Lingyan finds himself paralyzed by the demon's aura, unable to move a muscle. Just in time, Biping leaps in front of him, raising her sword to block the fatal blow. The force of the attack is too much, and she begins to falter, her strength failing. Suddenly, Wu Lingyan breaks free and pulls her into his arms, moving them both out of harm's way. The demon's attack smashes into the ground, narrowly missing the two fighters. Biping questions how he was able to move when the poison mist should have paralyzed him. He casually suggests he might have antibodies, a concept that completely baffles her. She presses him for answers, but he insists now isn't the time for a lengthy explanation. Biping turns to face the beast, admitting that even without the poison, she's not confident she can defeat the demonic cultivator. Wu Lingyan sweats, confused by the demon's appearance, which doesn't match his expectations of a demonic cultivator. The shadowy entity suddenly expands, its form growing more monstrous and powerful with a surge of red energy. With glowing red eyes, the fully formed demon lets out a terrifying, silent roar of pure malevolence. The colossal beast looms over a defiant Biping as Wu Lingyan is thrown back by its immense aura. She urges Wu Lingyan to use his powerful technique again, but finds herself unable to act. Her hands tremble uncontrollably as she realizes she has lost command of her own body. From the stands, the transmigrator smirks, seeing this chaotic scene as his perfect chance to shine. He confidently believes it's his moment to save the day, but his attention is suddenly drawn elsewhere. His spirit companion warns him against intervening, but the transmigrator is convinced this is his moment to defeat the demon. He calls out to Biping to watch his show, but she turns away, utterly repulsed by his arrogant display. The colossal demon roars, its malevolent energy paralyzing a terrified Biping. Unfazed by the danger, the transmigrator channels his elemental power, preparing to steal the spotlight. He materializes a massive energy ruler, confidently preparing to unleash a powerful strike. With a heroic leap, he charges the demonic entity, determined to prove his superiority. His attack passes harmlessly through the demon's arm, failing to make any impact on the creature. Wu Lingyan urgently shouts a warning, realizing the demon's arm can release a toxic gas. The transmigrator smirks condescendingly, revealing he was already aware of the creature's poisonous nature. He swiftly shifts his elemental focus, transforming his energy into a blazing inferno. Unleashing a fiery dragon's roar, he engulfs the demon in a massive pillar of flame. The powerful attack erupts in a blinding explosion, completely consuming the demonic beast. He channels his elemental power, preparing to unleash one final decisive strike against the shadowy beast. With a determined cry, the transmigrator brings down his massive, world-splitting energy ruler, but his powerful attack is suddenly stopped, failing to connect with its intended target. His confidence shatters as he realizes the demonic entity has effortlessly blocked his ultimate technique. The demon retaliates with overwhelming force, shattering his weapon and sending him crashing to the ground. His spirit companion urges him to retreat, but the defeated transmigrator defiantly vows to fight until the very end. Unimpressed, the demonic entity looms over him, its shadowy form crackling with malevolent energy. From the sidelines, a stunned Biping watches the unbelievable turn of events, her disbelief growing. Her shock turns to horror as she recognizes the demon's technique as a signature move from her own Sword Peak sect. She desperately tries to place the familiar style, wondering which of her sect members could be a demonic cultivator in disguise. Wu Lingyan pulls Biping close, shielding her from the demon's attack and urging her to snap out of her daze. She looks down in shock, revealing she took the blow to protect him, considering it repayment for his earlier help. Enraged, the dean roars, furious that a demon would dare to harm his students within the academy walls. He unleashes his ultimate technique, manifesting a colossal fire god to purge the demonic infestation. The fiery avatar's power incinerates the lesser demons, engulfing them in a cleansing inferno. Despite his overwhelming power, the dean glares with contempt at the seemingly endless swarm of demonic cultivators. From the shadows, the masked figure smirks, cryptically noting that the real show is just beginning. Biping checks on a weakened Wu Lingyan, realizing he's been poisoned and desperately asking how to cure him. A memory of modern medicine flashes through Wu Lingyan's mind as he explains the need for antibodies to counteract the toxin. Misinterpreting his words, a desperate Biping raises her sword, preparing to offer her own blood as an antidote. As the colossal demon brings its weapon down, Biping charges forward to intercept. She realizes with dawning horror that she won't be fast enough to stop the attack. In a desperate last-ditch effort, she suddenly embraces Wu Lingyan, shocking him completely. He stares in wide-eyed confusion as she presses her lips to his, transferring her blood. From the ground, the defeated transmigrator watches the scene unfold with utter disbelief and despair. The stout student furiously scribbles notes, convinced his shipping theories about the two were correct all along. While Murong clutches her chest in confusion, Xiaoyu erupts in a silent, jealous rage at the sight. The demon's attack crashes down, but Wu Lingyan has already moved them both out of the way. Holding the weakened Biping, he prepares another immortal technique, his hand glowing with golden energy. He launches them both into the air, unleashing a devastating counterpunch aimed directly at the demon. His powerful punch connects, shattering the demonic entity in a massive explosion of energy. Landing safely, Wu Lingyan catches his breath, the immense effort of the attack taking a slight toll. Still holding Biping, he smirks as he feels his strength fully returning, much to her surprise. A flustered Biping looks up at him, her expression softening as she processes the unexpected turn of events. She grudgingly admits to herself that her rescuer is surprisingly handsome, despite their earlier conflict. Wu Lingyan notices her flushed face, mistaking her embarrassment for a sign of serious injury. Elsewhere, the exhausted dean breathes a sigh of relief, glad that his students are momentarily out of danger. His relief turns to fury as he unleashes another devastating wave of fire, vowing to make the demons pay. From the shadows, the masked figure watches the dean's fiery assault with an unimpressed, mocking expression. The figure's hand crackles with dark energy, a sinister smile revealing he is far from finished with his plan. Glowing with righteous fury, the dean confronts the masked figure, identifying him as the true mastermind. With a roar of fury, he unleashes a powerful fiery strike, vowing to destroy the villain. The colossal hand of fire descends, threatening to crush the seemingly unfazed masked figure. His attack slams into the ground, erupting in a brilliant flash of destructive energy. But his confidence turns to shock as he realizes his powerful blow struck nothing but air. He discovers he only destroyed a decoy, a strange doll now leaking dark energy from the crater. Frustrated by the deception, the dean tries to figure out the demon's true objective amidst the chaos. The camera pans to the Academy's library, revealing the true target of the invasion. Sinister tendrils of demonic energy phase through the library's walls, bypassing all defenses. Inside, the masked figure smirks, mocking the heroes for falling for his obvious diversion. He unleashes a swarm of sinister spider-like creatures to do his bidding. With a smug grin, he reveals his only goal is to find a specific mysterious item. His shadowy minions scurry through the library, searching the endless rows of books. The creatures methodically comb through the towering shelves, seeking their target. Suddenly, one of the creatures latches onto a book, its body glowing with malevolent energy. The creature presents the book to its master, who looks on with smug satisfaction. He scoffs at the Academy's poor security, mocking their attempt to hide such an important item. But his moment of triumph is cut short as his smug expression turns to one of shock. A stern, red-haired guardian appears, declaring the library a forbidden zone for outsiders. The guardian calmly announces the penalty for trespassing, a hefty fine of 1,000 spirit stones. The masked figure mocks the guardian, recognizing him as a once powerful figure now reduced to a janitor. Unfazed, the guardian sternly demands the intruder restore the library and pay the fine immediately. The masked figure smirks defiantly, challenging the guardian to make him comply. With a final warning, the guardian lunges forward with blinding speed, catching the intruder off guard. He lands a powerful strike, sending the masked figure flying back in a spray of blood. The force of the blow sends the intruder crashing through the library wall and out into the open. Back at the arena, the dean senses the disturbance, realizing something has gone wrong at the library. He urgently orders his subordinates to protect the students while he rushes to investigate the new threat. The dean launches himself into the air, speeding toward the library as Xiaoyu watches him depart. Xiaoyu looks on with a troubled expression, sensing that the world is on the brink of great turmoil. The masked figure is sent flying, but manages to halt his momentum with a smirk. He mockingly points out the irony of the Guardian destroying the very library he's meant to protect. Unfazed, the Guardian calmly adds another 10,000 spirit stones to the intruder's repair bill. The masked figure's severed arm dissolves into dark energy, the stolen book falling from its grasp. Clutching his wound, the villain accuses the old Guardian of being just as unreasonable as ever. The Guardian's gaze hardens, his patience clearly wearing thin. He declares that reason is wasted on demonic cultivators and charges forward with his broom. The simple broom glows with immense power as it slams into a wall of dark energy. The masked figure effortlessly blocks the attack with a shadowy shield, stopping the broom inches from his face. The Guardian's eye widens slightly, a flicker of surprise reflecting the demon's unexpected power. The Guardian presses his attack, but the masked figure grunts, holding his ground against the immense force. With a single hand, the villain stops the enchanted broom, his dark energy overpowering the Guardian's technique. The shockwave from their clash rips through the building, blowing out the library walls. The masked figure gloats, revealing that the power he's accumulated over the years far exceeds the Guardian's expectations. He mockingly reminds the Guardian of their last encounter, where he was nearly executed. A flashback reveals their history, showing the Guardian standing victorious over the defeated villain. The villain explains that while he was defeated, he managed to escape with half of a precious secret manual. The flashback shows the Guardian holding the very book the villain now seeks. He declares that he has returned to claim the other half, taunting the Guardian about the now insurmountable gap in their power. The stoic Guardian glares back, his expression hardening as he processes the villain's chilling revelation. The Guardian's fury grows as he doubles the fine for the destruction, but the villain dismisses the threat. Done with the talk, the masked figure lunges forward, his fist crackling with dark energy for a final blow. His attack misses, smashing into the ground as the Guardian deftly evades the strike. The Guardian's stern face reappears, completely unfazed by the villain's show of force. Realizing his opponent is stronger than anticipated, the Guardian unsheathes a hidden blade, ready to end the fight. He unleashes a blindingly fast series of slashes, his blade glowing with immense spiritual power. Their clash erupts in a massive explosion of energy, the shockwave tearing through the already damaged library. The masked villain lands gracefully, a confident smirk on his face as he weathers the assault. He mockingly acknowledges the Guardian's strength, his own dark aura swirling around him menacingly. In response, the Guardian's blade ignites with roaring flames, revealing the true extent of his power. The Guardian prepares to unleash his ultimate technique, his fiery blade now fully unsheathed. The masked figure recognizes the legendary blade, his dark aura swirling in anticipation. He scoffs, recalling how he personally shattered this very blade in their previous confrontation. The Guardian's grim reflection stares back from the blade, ready to prove the villain wrong. He challenges the villain to find out for himself, lunging forward in a blur of motion. The attack is halted just inches from its target, the villain's expression remaining unnervingly calm. The Guardian follows through with a powerful slash, determined to overwhelm his opponent's defenses. The powerful strike connects, the force of the blow staggering the masked villain. The Guardian stands over the fallen villain, confident that his decisive strike has ended the fight. But his victory is short-lived as sinister tendrils of energy begin to writhe from the villain's wound. The Guardian's confidence shatters, his expression turning to shock at the unexpected development. He watches in disbelief as the villain's body contorts, regenerating with a surge of malevolent red energy. The masked figure fully reforms into a monstrous, shadowy entity, his power now far more menacing. The villain's face shifts, revealing a demonic half as he acknowledges the Guardian's surprising strength. The Guardian glares, demanding to know what dark arts his foe has mastered over the years. Declaring his objective complete, the villain makes a swift escape, promising to return even stronger. Enraged, the Guardian reignites his blade, vowing that his enemy will not get away this time. But the villain taunts him from afar, threatening to destroy the Academy if the Guardian dares to give chase. The Guardian freezes mid-charge, caught in a terrible dilemma between duty and revenge. He can only watch in fury as the villain's dark presence fades, his escape now complete. The Guardian grits his teeth, his expression dark as he endures a self-inflicted wound to power up. He channels his own life force into his blade, vowing that his enemy will not escape justice. The villain mockingly laughs, challenging the Guardian's desperate high-speed charge. Their ultimate techniques collide in a cataclysmic explosion of raw, destructive energy. Sensing the immense power spike, the Dean's grandson rushes toward the library with a worried expression. The Guardian kneels amidst the ruins, calmly scolding his relative for his reckless arrival. Filled with rage, the Guardian laments that his duty to protect the Academy prevented him from finishing the fight. The grandson arrives just in time to catch the weakened Guardian, shocked by his grave injuries. With a grim look, the Guardian reveals his foe was a legendary demonic cultivator from tens of thousands of years ago. His grandson stares in horror, recognizing the name of an infamous monster from the history books. The grandson recounts how the Righteous Alliance once sent over 30 masters to defeat this very demon. A flashback shows the legendary villain facing the combined might of the righteous sects. The battle was a costly one, with over 20 masters falling before the demon was finally subdued. The grandson points out that the villain's power is far more complex than simple demonic cultivation. The Guardian realizes with dawning horror that his foe wields the power to control inner demons. The grandson confirms that the shadowy attackers were all manifestations of these inner demons. The Guardian vows to pursue the villain, but his grandson warns him it's a futile effort. He insists the Guardian's duty is to warn the Righteous Alliance of the impending war. The Guardian's hand trembles on his sword hilt, his resolve clashing with his weakened state. He grimly admits he can no longer protect the Academy as his body begins to fade away. The grandson worries about the remaining demons, but the Guardian assures him they have already been suppressed. He suddenly calls out in alarm, realizing his grandfather is rapidly fading away. As the Guardian's spirit departs, his grandson desperately yells for him to find a healer before disappearing. Meanwhile, the students in the arena seethe with anger, vowing death to all demonic cultivators. Their hatred fills the air as they watch the last bound demon, their cries for justice echoing through the arena. A hesitant Biping turns to Wu Lingen, finally ready to acknowledge his help. With a flustered expression, she shyly thanks him for saving her life during the chaotic battle. She quickly regains her composure, vowing to continue her investigation, leaving him to wonder if this is her unique way of flirting. His playful thought is cut short by a sudden, jarring realization. Her accusation is interrupted as she points out a strange glow, now emanating from Wu Lingen himself. She shoves him away, yelling at him to leave as a sinister energy descends from above. He ignores her warning, pulling her aside and taking the brunt of the mysterious attack himself. Landing on top of her, he shields her from the blast, leaving her to question why he would risk his life for her. He gets up and casually states he's fine, much to her disbelief. She angrily punches his chest, accusing him of deliberately making her worry as two shadowy figures appear behind him. As their friends arrive with food, she pushes him away, telling him to keep his distance if he's unhurt. Their bickering is interrupted by the Dean, who rushes forward with a look of urgency. The Dean grabs Wu Lingen's arm, insisting on inspecting his body, much to Xiaoyu's annoyance. The Dean's eye glows with power, reflecting an image of Wu Lingen as he performs a deep scan. His expression turns grim as he reveals a dark seed has been planted within Wu Lingen's body. The scan reveals a sinister red seed embedded in Wu Lingen's chest, pulsating with dark energy. The Dean seethes with rage, recognizing the inner demon seed and vowing revenge on the one who planted it. Unfazed by the dire diagnosis, Wu Lingyan awkwardly asks the intense dean to let go of him. The dean stares in disbelief, completely baffled by Wu Lingyan's lack of reaction to the deadly curse. A furious Xiao Yu suddenly intervenes, forcefully pushing the dean away from a startled Wu Lingyan. She stands guard, warning Wu Lingyan to stay away from the old man and his strange behavior. Ignoring her, the dean asks Wu Lingyan if he feels any discomfort, but the boy casually reports he feels perfectly fine. The dean puzzles over this impossibility, knowing the inner demon seed should be lethal to any cultivator. Just as they turn to leave, the dean has a sudden, shocking epiphany. He grabs Wu Lingyan again, laughing with relief as he remembers the boy has no spirit root, making him immune. The dean explains that without spiritual energy, the inner demon seed is harmless, but Xiao Yu furiously bites his arm to make him let go. He abruptly launches himself into the air, leaving Wu Lingyan and Xiao Yu to stare in confusion. Floating high above, the dean officially concludes the assessment despite the chaotic interruptions. He announces that every student will be assigned their dorms and classes based on their performance today. With a flash of light, he sends information rocketing down toward the assembled students. The information embeds itself into each student's admission token, much to Wu Lingyan's surprise. Wu Lingyan examines his glowing token, finally understanding the dean's bizarre method of communication. He reads his new assignment, learning he's been placed in Class D and assigned his specific dorm room. The dean orders everyone to find their new quarters and prepare for the start of their classes tomorrow. A delighted Xiao Yu clings to Wu Lingyan's arm, eager to check out their new living arrangements. Wu Lingyan asks if she was assigned a room, but she explains she's not an official student. A sly smile crosses her face as she reveals her alternative plan. She coyly suggests that as his protector, she should naturally stay with him, leaving him flustered. He points out the inconvenience of a roommate, but she casually suggests just kicking them out. Nearby, Biping overhears their conversation with a cold, disapproving glare. The scene shifts to the academy's dormitory district, where the new students will be staying. Wu Lingyan realizes his dorm is in the most remote area with the weakest spiritual energy. Xiao Yu fumes over the unfair placement, but Wu Lingyan remains unbothered by his status as a new student. They finally arrive at the door to male dormitory number 8. Noticing a light from within, he realizes his roommate has already arrived and pushes the door open. He cheerfully introduces himself, expecting to meet his new male roommate. Instead, he's met with the shocking sight of Biping, clad only in a towel. A flustered Wu Lingyan slams the door shut as Xiao Yu questions his strange reaction. He leans against the door, blushing furiously as he confirms he's at the correct male dormitory. He convinces himself the day's chaos is making him see things, flashing back to their intense moments in the arena. Deciding to double-check, he cautiously pushes the door open for a second look. His eyes widen as he sees Biping again, this time getting dressed, confirming it wasn't a hallucination. He pulls back in a panic, wondering if he's fallen into an illusion as Xiao Yu grows more confused. Losing patience, Xiao Yu shoves the door wide open, revealing a fully dressed but annoyed Biping. A furious Xiao Yu confronts Biping, who calmly explains that this is her dorm room too. Biping presents her own token, revealing she's been assigned to the exact same room. A suspicious Xiao Yu accuses her of being a man in disguise, which a flustered Biping vehemently denies. Wu Lingyan cheekily confirms she's a girl, earning a sharp, jealous glare from Xiao Yu. She explains she traded rooms with his original roommate, who is now enjoying a much nicer dorm. He questions her motives and she grabs him, declaring her intention to observe him closely. She reveals her goal is to uncover the secret to his strength, even if it means becoming his roommate. Wu Lingyan sweats nervously as a pop-up reveals his true age is 20,000 years, making her same age comment a bit off. He awkwardly tries to move past the conversation and enter the room. Wu Lingyan worries about the inconvenience, but she coolly dismisses his concerns about their living situation. She points out he's already living with Xiao Yu, prompting a furious correction from the fox girl. Biping promises to only observe him quietly, as Wu Lingyan reluctantly agrees and Xiao Yu fumes. Xiao Yu beckons Wu Lingyan to bed, reminding him of his classes tomorrow and leaving him to question their sleeping arrangement. She explains there's no other place to sleep, and a hesitant Wu Lingyan agrees, lying down beside her. He immediately feels an intense gaze, realizing Biping is watching him from the other bed. As the candle is snuffed out, the room is plunged into an uneasy darkness. Biping lies awake in her bed, her eyes closed but her mind clearly still active. Lingen quietly asks Xiaoyu if the attackers were truly demonic cultivators. He recalls their strange techniques, noting they were unlike any demonic arts he'd ever known. Xiaoyu decides that with their appearance, it's time to reveal a long-held secret. She gravely explains the attackers were not just demonic cultivators, but the far more dangerous inner demons. Lingen questions her statement as the scene shifts to a remote mountain peak under the moonlight. Elsewhere, the leaders of the Righteous Alliance hold a secret meeting, shocked that the villain Sima Yue has escaped the academy. One elder expresses his disbelief, having assumed the legendary demon had perished long ago. He reports that the villain not only injured the guardian but also stole the other half of a sealed secret manual. The dean interrupts, warning that while demonic cultivators are a problem, they now face an even more serious issue. He gravely reveals that the students have witnessed the appearance of inner demons, shocking the council. The dean explains that inner demons are a dark byproduct of cultivation, a truth they have long kept secret to maintain order. He now worries how long they can maintain this secret with Sima Yue's return, threatening to expose everything. An elder declares with grim resolve that the established order must be protected at all costs. The head of another academy volunteers his institution's aid, vowing to help deal with the inner demon threat. The head of Longtang Academy agrees they must face this new threat together. An elder issues a command. 2 leaders will suppress the news while the others hunt for Sima Yue. With their strategy decided, the magical communication circle fades, ending the secret meeting. Elsewhere, the villain Sima Yue scoffs at the academy's weakness, deeming it unworthy of its reputation. The ambitious head of Longtang Academy vows to seize this opportunity and make his institution the #1 righteous sect. The scene shifts back to the quiet of male dormitory number 8. Xiaoyu finishes her serious explanation, revealing inner demons are the cultivation world's greatest taboo. She looks to Lingen for a reaction, but finds him completely still. He has already fallen fast asleep, much to her exasperation. She sighs, deciding it might be better for him to remain ignorant of these heavy secrets. With a gentle smile, Xiaoyu watches over the peacefully sleeping Lingen. But in the other bed, Biping suddenly sits bolt upright, her rest disturbed. Her eyes glow with a sinister red light, hinting at a troubled night. The sun rises on a new day at the academy, bringing with it fresh chaos. Lingen groggily wakes up, surprised to find it's already morning. He stretches only to find Biping stretching right beside him, looking refreshed. His eyes widen in shock as he realizes they somehow ended up in the same bed. A commotion erupts outside as another student accuses her roommate of a similar situation, while Lingen looks on in confusion. Inside, a furious Xiaoyu confronts Biping, accusing her of taking advantage of Lingen. Biping angrily denies the accusation, claiming Xiaoyu pushed her out of her own bed during the night. While Biping continues her accusations, gossiping students outside are both shocked and envious of the drama. Lingen calmly raises a hand, preparing to offer his own theory. He suggests that perhaps she was the one who sleepwalked, leaving her utterly speechless. She frantically denies having such a habit, but her flustered reaction only fuels Xiaoyu's suspicions. Lingen smoothly changes the subject, reminding a flustered Biping that they can't be late for class. As Biping rushes out, Xiaoyu questions why he let the matter drop, but he agrees they must hurry. Their argument is interrupted as the door is thrown open, revealing the eavesdropping students outside. The students nervously back away, claiming they were just passing by under Biping's menacing glare. Using class as an excuse, the terrified students beat a hasty retreat from the dorm. Lingen and Xiaoyu head off to class, with a pensive Biping following them from a distance. Lingen questions why Biping is following them, but she claims observing him is more useful than class. Xiaoyu and Biping bicker over who has more right to be near him, forcing Lingen to break up their argument. They arrive at the entrance to Class D, the lowest-ranked class in the academy. Lingen sighs, realizing Biping has decided to attend the same class as him. Inside, the stout student greets Lingen, surprised to find him in the problem class. The student explains the ranking system, revealing Class D is reserved for the worst-performing students. While Lingen laments his placement, Xiaoyu fumes that the top scorer was put in the lowest class. A stern voice suddenly silences the chattering students, catching them all by surprise. Their new instructor appears, a rough-looking man who demands absolute quiet in his classroom. Lingen recognizes the man, shocked to learn this stern instructor is their new homeroom teacher. The instructor's eye glints as he decides to make an example out of the first student who steps out of line. He furiously hurls a book at the stout student, punishing him for whispering during his introduction. The heavy book flies through the air, aimed directly at the unsuspecting student's head. But Wu Lingen's hand flashes out, effortlessly catching the projectile and shocking the instructor. The instructor glares, branding Wu Lingen a troublemaker, while the stout student gratefully thanks his new friend. He slams a stack of books on his desk, demanding silence from the now attentive class. With a dramatic flourish, he presents a glowing box, announcing the start of their very first lesson. Golden cards shoot out from the box, distributing themselves to each surprised student. The instructor explains the cards contain a basic cultivation manual, ordering them to begin their practice immediately. A student scoffs at the simple technique, then gestures towards Wu Lingen, the only one in class who might actually need it. The instructor furiously lectures the dazed student, declaring their old techniques inferior to the academy's. The stout student turns to Wu Lingen, complaining that he didn't block the book for him this time. The teacher explains that every student must master the academy's foundational technique developed by the Righteous Alliance for maximum safety. He addresses the class, noting their prior experience and setting up his first challenge. With a menacing glare, he issues an ultimatum: master the technique by the end of class or face expulsion. While the other students seem confident, Wu Lingen is surrounded by his friends, looking less than certain. His composure breaks as he stares at the manual in a cold sweat, remembering he can't cultivate at all. Across the room, Biping calmly closes her eyes, preparing to begin her practice without a hint of worry. A vibrant blue aura immediately surrounds her as she effortlessly channels the new cultivation technique. Her eyes snap open as she flawlessly gathers the energy, mastering the skill in mere moments. To demonstrate her mastery, Biping unleashes a blast of energy with a single gesture. Her powerful technique shatters a nearby desk, catching the instructor by surprise. While Biping smirks confidently, Xiaoyu fumes at her rival's blatant showboating. The instructor openly praises Biping's talent, causing her to blush slightly at the attention. But he quickly brings her back to earth, reminding her she has to pay for the broken desk. He then turns to Wu Lingen, smugly certain the rootless boy is doomed to fail the assignment. As the instructor gloats about the impending expulsion, the students notice his torn pants but decide not to mention it. A worried Xiaoyu tries to comfort Wu Lingen, but he's determined to succeed against all odds. He prepares to cultivate as Biping watches intently, ready to document his every move. Suddenly, Wu Lingen's eyes fly open in shock, exclaiming that he can finally feel an energy flow. But his excitement is premature as the energy immediately dissipates from his body. He slumps in defeat while Biping eagerly documents his failure, and Xiaoyu looks on with concern. A frustrated Biping looks down at the dejected boy, questioning his bizarre cultivation attempts. In a desperate move, Wu Lingen grabs her, begging her to teach him how to sense spiritual energy. A flustered Biping explains a visualization technique, wondering why she's suddenly playing the role of instructor. He follows her advice, imagining his body as a vessel being filled with the flow of spiritual energy. Focusing intently, he closes his eyes, believing he's finally starting to feel a connection. A brilliant golden aura erupts around him, leaving a stunned Biping to question if her simple advice was the cause. As Wu Lingen celebrates his success, Biping stares in disbelief, trying to understand the source of his power. The instructor claps his hands, warning the successful students not to celebrate too early. The instructor presents a glowing orb, asking the class if they've ever seen a spirit ball. He casually tosses the heavy-looking orb toward an unsuspecting student. The student confidently moves to catch the incoming projectile, but the orb's immense weight slams him to the ground, causing him to cry out in pain. The instructor explains the orb gets lighter with spiritual energy, much to the student's frustration. The student struggles to channel his power, trying to lift the impossibly heavy object. With a smug grin, the instructor adds that using the wrong energy only makes it heavier, infuriating the trapped student. The stout student explains this is a popular sport called spirit ball, a cultivator's version of basketball. The instructor unleashes a barrage of spirit balls, assigning them to every student in the room. The orbs land before the class, leaving Wu Lingen and his friends to face their new, daunting assignment. Biping effortlessly lifts her spirit ball, while the stout student struggles with the orb's surprising weight. The instructor reminds Wu Lingen that brute strength alone won't be enough to pass this test. Determined not to be expelled, Wu Lingen resolves to pour every ounce of his newfound energy into the task. He strains with all his might, his muscles bulging as he desperately tries to lift the unyielding orb. Elsewhere, a different red-haired man calmly combs his hair, seemingly preparing for an important arrival. Looking into a hand mirror, he notices a fast-approaching object in the sky, just as he expected. A massive, dark vessel soars through the air, heading directly for the academy grounds. A burly, red-haired warrior with a fierce expression announces his arrival at the Zhuantian Academy. From the deck of his flying ship, he casually tosses a glowing object down towards the academy. The object lands in a brilliant flash of golden light before a robed figure, delivering a clear message. The Zhuantian dean sarcastically greets the visitor, feigning surprise at the unannounced arrival. The rival dean claims he's only here to help, having heard of the academy's recent troubles. The Zhuantian dean notes the impressive entourage, while the visitor reveals he also wants to test the #1 academy's strength. With a knowing smirk, the Zhuantian dean sees through the flimsy excuse to the man's true ambitious intentions. Suddenly, the visitor's massive flying ship begins to plummet from the sky. Both deans are startled by a strange noise as a golden orb rockets past them into the air. The spirit ball slams into the underside of the flying vessel with devastating force. On the chaotic deck, the rival dean's men scramble, believing they are under attack from demonic cultivators. The Zhuantian dean and his staff watch in stunned silence as the unexpected assault unfolds. Back in the classroom, Wu Lingen holds the now cracked spirit ball aloft, realizing he may have used a little too much force. The furious instructor lectures Wu Lingen on the cost of repairs, but the boy just sheepishly admits he used too much power. Hearing the commotion, the Zhuantian dean immediately suspects his troublemaking new student is involved. Amidst the dust, the rival dean boasts of his invulnerability, brushing off any concern for his safety. His bravado is shattered as he's revealed to be gravely injured, his subordinates scrambling to save him. The Zhuantian dean cleverly covers for Wu Lingen, blaming the incident on an exploding spirit ball from the academy's own storage. The injured rival dean examines the glowing orb, his subordinates still believing it was a malicious attack. Ignoring his wounds, the rival dean challenges his host to a friendly match using the spirit ball. Unseen by the deans, a sinister purple aura manifests, signaling the presence of an inner demon. The Zhuantian dean questions his rival about the dark presence, but is dismissed as being paranoid from the earlier attack. The rival dean confidently declares that with his power present, no demon would dare make a move. The rival dean clutches a dark artifact, deciding to use a fraction of its power to secure his victory. He brushes off his subordinate's concern, his face contorting with dark energy as he demands the match continue. The Zhuantian dean watches an hourglass, knowing time is short, and his students can't afford any mistakes. Back in the classroom, Wu Lingen's friends celebrate his power, while a jealous rival fumes over being upstaged. The friendly match resumes, with the jealous student now taking possession of the spirit ball. He hurls the glowing orb across the court, determined to make his own mark on the game. Leaping into the air, he catches the ball mid-flight, his body surrounded by a vibrant blue aura. He declares his intention to score, believing the opponents are too tired to stop him. He charges forward with the ball, catching the rival team completely off guard with his sudden move. With a confident smirk, he notes that his opponents are exhausted and ripe for defeat. The stout student explains that their opponents are weaker and running low on energy, making them easy targets. The instructor bluntly points out that everyone on their team is stronger than the rivals, except for Wu Lingen. The jealous student prepares for a glorious shot, confident that his moment to shine has finally arrived. But on the sidelines, a rival player smirks, unleashing a powerful earth technique with a sinister purple aura. The jealous student's charge is brutally halted as he's slammed into a massive wall of earth. The rival dean boasts that his student must have had a breakthrough under pressure, much to the Zhuantian dean's surprise. The Zhuantian dean narrows his eyes, sensing something is amiss with this sudden power-up. The rival team's player easily catches the rebound, taking possession of the spirit ball. He rallies his team, reminding them that time is running out as they prepare for a final push. Wu Lingen and the stout student charge forward, spotting the rival player preparing to make a move. The rival player barrels forward with the spirit ball, his rocky arm ready to crush any opposition. But his advance is brought to a dead stop as Wu Lingen effortlessly intercepts him. The powerful student stares in disbelief, shocked that Wu Lingen could halt his charge so easily. With a powerful stomp, Wu Lingen kicks up a massive pillar of earth from beneath his opponent. The rival player finds himself stranded atop the newly formed rock spire, still determined to score. Suddenly, his expression shifts from confidence to confusion as his momentum completely vanishes. He struggles against an invisible force, unable to move a single inch forward. Below, Wu Lingen reveals his clever tactic, using the earth pillar as an indirect way to block his opponent. As his friend cheers him on, Wu Lingen begins to push the entire rock formation backward. The rival player can only watch in horror as he and his rocky perch are shoved back across the court. The rival player panics as Wu Lingen pushes him and his rock pillar directly toward his own team's goal. Desperate to avoid defeat, the rival Dean taps into the power of his dark, pulsating artifact. The stout student watches in amazement as the earth pillar morphs into a colossal stone golem. He struggles to hold back the golem's advance, straining under its incredible weight. Wu Lingen realizes with a start that an outside force is making the golem impossibly heavy. The massive stone giant lumbers across the court, carrying the trapped player on its shoulder. The deans are stunned by the display, with the Zhuanqin dean questioning how a novice could wield such power. Undeterred, Wu Lingen leaps onto the golem's arm, using it as a ramp to reach his opponent. He cheekily leaves the rival player to deal with the rampaging stone giant on his own. Wu Lingen closes in on the ball as Biping and another student leap into the air, ready to assist. Biping unleashes a storm of spiritual swords, while her ally delivers a powerful kick to the golem's hand. The rival player smirks, unfazed by their combined assault on his stone protector. Below, the stout student watches in horror as the golem's arm morphs, sprouting dangerous stone spikes. The stout student grabs onto Wu Lingen, who remains focused on the escalating threat. Using Wu Lingen for leverage, the stout student unleashes a devastating punch with all his might. The powerful blow connects, shattering a massive chunk of the stone giant in a brilliant explosion. The rival player glares down in frustration, furious that his path to victory is constantly being blocked. Wu Lingen meets his gaze with unwavering resolve, his desire to win fueling his actions. Enraged, the rival player prepares to make his final shot, convinced that victory is still within his grasp. But his shot is intercepted mid-air, resulting in a cataclysmic explosion as two powerful forces collide. Xiaoyu watches in awe, stunned by the sheer power needed to match Wu Lingen's strike. The rival player is blasted backward, reeling from the overwhelming force of the impact. Injured and struggling, his teammate urges him to fall back as she moves to intercept the ball. Meanwhile, Wu Lingen's jealous teammate soars into the sky, using a flight technique to the crowd's amazement. But the rival player refuses to yield, his determination twisting into a dark resolve not to fail his master. His consciousness is consumed by a swirling vortex of malevolent energy as the inner demon takes control. A sinister red aura erupts from his body, startling his teammate with its dark presence. The rival dean recognizes the terrifying energy, realizing with horror that an inner demon has manifested. The player cries out as the dark power painfully reshapes his physical form. His transformation completes, revealing a monstrous demonic figure hell-bent on victory. The possessed player, now a monstrous figure, lunges forward, his mind consumed by the need to win. He moves with terrifying speed, a red blur of destructive energy aimed at his opponents. The stout student spots the demonic threat hurtling towards an unsuspecting Wu Lingen, but the warning comes too late as the demon brutally slams into Wu Lingen, sending him flying. The collision erupts in a massive cloud of dust, leaving Biping to stare in horror. Wu Lingen hits the ground hard, but his expression shifts from shock to grim resolve. The demon now possesses the spirit ball, charging it with dark energy and daring anyone to challenge him. He winds up for a devastating shot, preparing to end the match with overwhelming force. Refusing to give up, Wu Lingen pushes himself to his feet, driven by the promise of cultivation resources. He launches himself into the air, a shadowy figure determined to block the demon's final, desperate play. Wu Lingen stands his ground, determined to prevent the demon from scoring the final point. The demon's eyes glow with malevolent energy, enraged by the boy's defiance. With a furious roar, the possessed player shoves Wu Lingen aside with overwhelming force. The impact sends a shockwave across the court, kicking up a cloud of dust and debris. His friends can only watch in horror, stunned by the brutal, unexpected turn of events. Knowing he can't attack a fellow student, Wu Lingen resolves to block the shot with his own body. The demon puts all its dark power into the shot, determined to force the ball through. Wu Lingen takes the full brunt of the attack, the force of the blow causing him to reel back in pain. On the sidelines, Xiaoyu fumes, realizing the possessed player is flagrantly breaking the rules of the match. Despite his injuries, Wu Lingen warns his concerned friends to stay away from the dangerous confrontation. With a bloody grin, Wu Lingen declares the match isn't over yet. He shoves the glowing orb back with a sudden burst of strength. The demonic player roars in frustration as he begins to lose control of the ball. Wu Lingen successfully rips the spirit ball from his opponent's grasp, leaving the demon stunned. With a final determined effort, he prepares to make the winning shot. He launches the ball across the court with unimaginable speed and power. The glowing projectile slams directly into the rival team's goal. The resulting explosion sends the entire rival team flying backward. The crowd watches in disbelief, questioning if he even used spiritual energy for that incredible throw. The camera reveals the devastating result, a massive crater where the goal once stood. As the last grain of sand falls, the instructor declares Xuantian Academy the winner with a final score of 11-10. The match officially ends, leaving the demonic player to stare in defeat as Wu Lingen's friends celebrate their victory. The possessed student reels in disbelief, horrified that he lost in front of his own master. Biping grabs an exhausted Wu Lingen, scolding him for worrying about the score instead of his own well-being. The Xuantian dean calmly informs his rival that his prized student has been completely consumed by an inner demon. The rival dean suddenly doubles over, a consequence of his earlier actions catching up to him as his subordinate looks on in shock. He questions how his strictly trained student could fall to corruption, refusing to accept the reality of the situation. The Xuantian dean suggests that perhaps his rival's overly strict methods were the very thing that broke his student's will. On the court, the defeated student looks up at his master, his demonic form a testament to his failure. He clutches his head in anguish, consumed by the thought that he has once again disappointed his teacher. The rival dean trembles with rage, refusing to accept such a humiliating outcome. Fueled by his refusal to lose, the possessed student's power erupts, breaking through to the golden core stage. A brilliant core of energy forms within his chest, marking his unstable breakthrough. The Xuantian dean realizes the breakthrough has fully merged with the inner demon, sealing the student's fate. The dean orders the instructor to intervene while he tends to his injured rival. With a confident smirk, the instructor cracks his knuckles, ready to handle the situation himself. He confidently charges toward the demonic student, vowing to put an end to the rampage. He tears away his robes, revealing a powerful physique and activating his unique body technique. The demonic student glares back, his eyes glowing with malevolent power, ready for the challenge. Without hesitation, the instructor lands a devastating blow, meeting the demon's power head-on. The instructor is slammed to the ground, completely overpowered by the demonic student. The demon roars in fury, declaring the match is far from over. As his friends reel in shock, the stout student panics, urging everyone to flee from the rampaging demon. Biping, however, refuses to retreat, determined to stay and protect a nervous Wu Lingen. Xiao Yu interjects, insisting she is more than capable of protecting him, much to Biping's annoyance. The rivalry flares as Xiao Yu snaps at a slight from Biping, while another girl tries to de-escalate their bickering. The demon glares at the defiant group, seeing them as nothing more than obstacles to his victory. With a furious roar, he unleashes his power, vowing that anyone who stands in his way will perish. But the instructor suddenly intervenes, summoning a storm of magical chains and weapons to ensnare the demon. The powerful chains constrict around the demon, bringing his furious rampage to an abrupt halt. The instructor's chains accidentally ensnare everyone on the court, leaving them all unable to move. He turns to the demon, smugly announcing he's dealt with all the troublemakers. But the possessed student ignores him, suddenly grabbing Wu Lingen's uniform. He hoists the boy into the air, demanding they continue the match until he is victorious. The demon glares back as his concerned female teammate calls out to him. She tries to calm him down, pleading with him not to push himself over a single loss. His teammate gently reminds him that they will have other chances to compete. Enraged, he shoves her away, blaming his useless teammates for his defeat. A fellow player rushes in, catching the girl before she hits the ground. The demon turns back to Wu Lingen, declaring that with all obstacles gone, they will now have a one-on-one match. With Wu Lingen in his grasp, the demon demands a one-on-one rematch, declaring all obstacles are gone. His former teammates try to reason with him, believing he's been possessed and isn't in his right mind. The girl desperately urges her teammates to find a way to snap their leader out of his demonic state. Her teammates look on helplessly, unsure how to approach their now monstrous leader. Enraged by their interference, the demon unleashes a powerful shout that blasts his own teammate away. He turns his attention back to a nervous Wu Lingen, insisting they continue their match. The demon taunts Wu Lingen, trying to provoke him into fighting. Despite being restrained, a furious Biping warns the demon not to get arrogant over one small victory. She calls for a united front, urging everyone to attack the demon at once, and finds a willing ally in the stout student. Meanwhile, the jealous student watches from afar, refusing to help Wu Lingyan despite his master's prompting. The jealous student smirks, believing Wu Lingyan's demise is the key to his own destiny. Biping unleashes a flurry of spiritual swords, aiming directly at the demonic figure. The demon scoffs at her attack, dismissing her efforts as futile. But her attack is blocked by a massive wall of earth that erupts from the ground. The stout student shouts a warning, realizing the wall was just a diversion. Too late, Biping finds herself surrounded by sharp rock spikes bursting from the court. The demon's earth technique traps another one of Wu Lingyan's allies, pinning her in place. Biping struggles against her restraints, frustrated that her main weapon was confiscated. She glances over at the instructor, only to find him still helplessly tangled in his own chains. Losing her patience, she grabs the instructor, demanding the return of her sword, but he claims he doesn't have it. The demon unleashes his earth technique, sending the stout student and another ally flying. But Xiaoyu steps forward, warning him that his borrowed power doesn't make him invincible. She unleashes a unique, charming technique, weaving a spell with pink, heart-shaped energy. The strange energy envelops the demon, momentarily clouding his rage-filled mind. She calmly explains that he can still break free, but only if he rejects the inner demon's influence now. Her words seem to reach him as he struggles against the dark power, trying to remember what truly matters. He desperately tries to focus on a single important thought to break the demon's hold. But his obsession with victory overwhelms him, unleashing a shockwave that blasts Xiaoyu and Wu Lingyan away. Ignoring all reason, the demon prepares to unleash an even more powerful earth technique. A towering wall of earth erupts from the court, trapping Xiaoyu and cutting her off from the fight. The demon declares his trap complete, leaving Wu Lingyan cornered in the newly formed chasm. Outside, Biping's spiritual swords shatter uselessly against the impenetrable rock wall. Xiaoyu looks up in dismay, noting the sheer walls are too high and smooth to climb. With his allies neutralized, the demon kicks Wu Lingyan, boasting that all interference is gone. The demon looms over Wu Lingyan, demanding they continue the match until he finally wins. Wu Lingyan clutches the spirit ball as it begins to tremble, much to the demon's confusion. His strength gives out as Wu Lingyan collapses to his knees, grimacing from his accumulated injuries. The demon smirks cruelly, deciding he must have overestimated the boy's stamina. He places a hand on the ball, telling the boy to watch carefully as he secures his final victory. But when he tries to lift the orb, it remains completely immobile, shocking the powerful demon. Wu Lingyan glares back, declaring that he has no intention of losing this match either. The demon smirks, welcoming the one-on-one showdown he so desperately wanted. He raises a cage of jagged rock from the ground, sealing Wu Lingyan inside with him. The demon boasts that Wu Lingyan will now have a front-row seat to his own defeat. He turns his back on the boy, confidently striding towards the goal to end the match. But Wu Lingyan calmly asks if the official inter-academy match has already concluded. His strange question catches the demon off guard, momentarily halting his victory march. The possessed player confirms it's now a personal duel where victory is the only thing that matters. A strange sense of relief washes over Wu Lingyan, leaving his opponent utterly baffled. He explains that with the official match over, he's no longer bound by its rules. Wu Lingyan flexes and the stone cage trapping him instantly shatters into pieces. His opponent can only stare in disbelief, unable to comprehend the boy's hidden power. Snapping out of his shock, the demon charges forward, unleashing a furious, high-speed assault. The ground erupts as the powerful strikes land, obscuring the battlefield in dust. He scoffs confidently, certain that his overwhelming power has already secured his victory. His expression turns grim as he offers a cold apology for the inevitable outcome. Wu Lingyan counters that he has no time to waste on this pointless duel. His eyes narrow with resolve, signaling that the time for games is over. Channeling a powerful new technique, he closes the distance in an instant, his fist glowing with blue light. The punch connects with overwhelming force, a single decisive blow to the demon's face. The demon is launched into the air, completely overwhelmed by the unexpected counterattack. The impact shatters the very ground beneath him, sending rock and debris flying. His demonic form crumbles, unable to withstand the devastating impact. Lying defeated amidst the rubble, the student can only stare in disbelief as his demonic power fades. Wu Lingyan lands back on the court, the devastating result of his single punch clear for all to see. His classmates are left speechless, questioning how he could unleash such power without any detectable spiritual energy. The jealous rival smirks, smugly comparing the display to his own abilities, much to his friend's annoyance. The adrenaline fades as Wu Lingen catches his breath, the exertion of the fight finally catching up to him. As he stumbles from exhaustion, Biping rushes in to catch him, her concern evident. But his first words aren't of victory, but of hunger, much to Biping's exasperation. Biping looks down at the exhausted boy, admitting to herself that his reckless behavior is just part of his charm. Their moment is interrupted by Xiaoyu, who arrives with a feast, ready to feed the hungry hero. She eagerly shoves food into his mouth, much to the annoyance of a sidelined Biping. Biping glances at the defeated student, surprised that the rival dean would so easily abandon his prized disciple. The instructor finally reappears, confidently stating that with him around, there's no need to fear demons. He turns to face the recovering demon, who scoffs at the idea that the instructor's earlier defeat was just a fluke. With a powerful stomp, the demon launches himself forward, kicking up a storm of debris. The instructor's eyes widen in surprise as a demonic fist closes in with incredible speed. But this time, he effortlessly catches the punch, revealing his prepared body is more than capable of handling the assault. The demon's confidence shatters as the instructor's grip tightens, causing him to reel back in pain. The instructor unleashes a brilliant light from his hand, causing the demon to cry out in agony. With a single powerful shove, he sends the demonic student flying backward across the court. The demon's monstrous form begins to crack and disintegrate under the overwhelming pressure. As his power fades, a small, sinister purple artifact is expelled from the student's body. The strange artifact sprouts limbs and makes a desperate attempt to flee the scene. But Xiaoyu moves in a flash, her hand shooting out to intercept the escaping entity. She clutches the squirming artifact, confirming it was the source of the man-made possession. With a determined clench of her fist, she completely incinerates the dark object. The student's teammates rush to his side as he reverts to his human form amidst the rubble. He wakes up in his teammates' arms, dazed and confused, the demonic influence finally gone. The rival dean appears before his defeated students, his expression grim. The female student desperately begs her master to heal their senior, fearing his injuries are too severe. The dean looks down at his prized pupil, his silence more damning than any scolding. With a cold glare, he finally breaks the silence, demanding to know why his student resorted to such desperate measures. The student confesses his only motivation was to avoid losing and disappointing his master. The dean's face hardens, reminding the boy that he knew this path was one of no return. Despite the warning, the student admits he couldn't stand the thought of his master losing the wager. The dean coldly states that this very attitude is why his academy will never surpass Xuantian. He orders his other students to drag the girl away, but she defiantly demands to know her senior's fate. Ignoring her pleas, the dean channels his power, summoning a massive stone construct from the ground. The rival dean invokes their master-disciple bond as he prepares to pass judgment on his student. He brandishes a massive stone sword, demanding the name of the one who gave his student the dark artifact. The student recalls a masked figure offering him a power-enhancing pill, admitting he never knew the person's identity. The Xuantian dean identifies the culprit, leaving his rival to realize his own academy has been infiltrated. With a heavy heart, the rival dean raises his glowing sword, preparing to deliver a final harsh lesson. He steels his resolve, intending to carry out the grim sentence on his own disciple. The student's teammates cry out in horror, pleading with their master to show mercy. But just as the sword descends, a hand appears, stopping the blade with a burst of golden light. To the dean's utter shock, it's Wu Lingen who has caught the massive weapon with his bare hands. Wu Lingen meets the dean's gaze with unwavering intensity, holding the blade at a standstill. The rival dean stares in disbelief, wondering what kind of monster the Xuantian Academy has cultivated. Wu Lingen sheepishly apologizes, explaining he acted on impulse to stop the execution. The dean questions his interference, reminding him the boy became a demon and tried to kill him. Wu Lingen counters that the student was only obsessed with winning and not disappointing his master. He smiles, suggesting that a competitive spirit doesn't warrant such a harsh punishment. His words strike a nerve, causing the rival dean to clench his fist and shatter the stone sword. The dean concedes defeat, admitting he has lost on every front. He honors the wager, declaring his academy will now become a branch of Xuantian. The Xuantian students erupt in celebration, shocked by the high stakes of their dean's wager. He then leaves the fate of his fallen student in the hands of the Xuantian Academy. The rival student questions her friend, unable to believe their master would abandon their senior. Her friend explains this is the dean's way of protecting him, as the rival dean sheds a silent tear. The Xuantian dean places a comforting hand on his rival's shoulder, who looks up in surprise. The rival dean brushes him off, feigning indifference about his disciple's fate. But the Zhuantian dean responds with a swift kick, fed up with his rival's act of handing over a problem. He reflects on his own troublemaking students, realizing the academy is becoming a hotbed for unstable power. Grabbing his rival, the Zhuantian dean reminds him that, as a branch academy, they must now obey his commands. With a determined glint in his eye, the Zhuantian dean prepares to issue his very first order. He shocks everyone by commanding the entire rival academy to relocate to the Zhuantian campus. A long line of new students with their belongings soon arrives at the gates of Zhuantian Academy. The rival dean crosses his arms, demanding to know the Zhuantian dean's true intentions for the massive relocation. But his serious inquiry is met with a rather distracting sight. He's interrupted by the Zhuantian dean, who is busy combing his hair and insisting it's not a wig. He explains the move is to monitor those affected by inner demons, though his own hair seems to betray his claims of authenticity. He gets serious, warning that without strict control, their academies will be completely infiltrated by demonic forces. He concludes that keeping all the students under one roof is their only option, a plan the rival dean reluctantly accepts. Meanwhile, Xiaoyu confidently leads Wu Lingyan to collect the reward they were promised for their victory. She makes a grand entrance, kicking down the door to demand their prize from the instructor. She finds only the rival dean, who nervously explains that the instructor is currently indisposed. A quick look reveals the instructor is helplessly pinned underneath a heavy table. The rival dean struggles to his feet, brushing off his subordinate's concern with a boast about his own strength. But Xiaoyu grabs him, aggressively demanding the promised reward now that he's clearly uninjured. She reminds him of the deal, a golden Zhuantian badge for the winner, a promise he nervously confirms. Wu Lingyan explains he wants to exchange the badge for more cultivation resources, putting the dean in a tight spot. The dean hesitates, fearing that giving Wu Lingyan too much power could trigger another demonic outbreak. He tries to back out, claiming the academy's resources are depleted after the recent demonic attack. Wu Lingyan calls his bluff, his hand glowing with power as he brings up the academy's secret underground vault. The dean's denial is cut short as Xiaoyu and the others confirm they overheard him and won't be fooled. Cornered, the dean reveals a new opportunity, a massive spirit stone mine the academy's recently discovered. He warns them, however, that the mine is overrun with powerful beasts that have already defeated their previous teams. The rival dean tries to talk them out of the mission, emphasizing the grave danger of the spirit stone mine. To the dean's surprise, Wu Lingyan and Xiaoyu simply turn to leave, seemingly accepting a different reward. But Wu Lingyan cheerfully announces they're heading straight for the mine, catching the furious dean completely off guard. He grabs Wu Lingyan, frantically warning him that the mine is full of beasts that demonic cultivators love to control. Their argument is interrupted as Biping kicks the door open, insisting they must go to eradicate the threat. With fierce determination, she rallies them, stating the demonic cultivators' provocations must be answered with total annihilation. She turns to her friends for confirmation, who enthusiastically agree with her bold plan. She then confronts the dean for his silence, only to notice Wu Lingyan staring at something with a concerned look. Wu Lingyan points out that her grand entrance has left the dean trapped underneath the broken door. An enraged dean glares at the students, furious at being taken down by his own academy's troublemakers yet again. Wu Lingyan's friends watch in disbelief, realizing the dean is now genuinely enraged by the students' antics. As Biping apologizes, the dean fumes over his newly repaired door being destroyed yet again. He firmly refuses their request to go to the mine, declaring the mission far too dangerous for them to handle. Xiaoyu accuses him of being stingy, trying to prevent Wu Lingyan from getting the resources he rightfully earned. But the Zhuantian dean's expression turns serious, a new plan forming in his mind. He pulls his rival aside, intending to discuss the matter away from the students. The Zhuantian dean shocks his counterpart by suggesting they should let the students go to the mine after all. The rival dean argues that with inner demon seeds, Wu Lingyan and Biping would be walking straight into a demonic trap. The Zhuantian dean reveals his true intention is to use this very vulnerability to their advantage. He proposes a dangerous gambit, using the students as bait to lure out and eliminate the hidden demonic forces. The Zhuantian dean reveals a teleportation device as a safety measure, allowing them to extract the students instantly. But their hushed conversation is so loud that an annoyed Biping overhears their entire plan from across the room. The dean reluctantly hands over the device, instructing them to contact the academy if they encounter demonic cultivators. As they prepare to leave, Xiaoyu gets close to Wu Lingyan, immediately sparking Biping's fiery jealousy. The rival dean expresses his concern, believing sending the students alone is far too dangerous. The Zhuantian dean reveals he's also sending his own people, as a carriage begins its journey to the mine. Inside, a powerful-looking man sits stoically, while a purple-haired woman looks at him with affection. Elsewhere in the carriage, Wu Lingen's jealous rival and his white-haired teammate sit with annoyed expressions. The jealous student openly questions why their team is being forced to help Wu Lingen's group. He expresses his distrust, feeling unsafe traveling with people who were so easily corrupted by demonic influence. His teammate points out he was also under demonic influence, prompting a comically furious reaction from Xiaoyu. The powerful man sternly tells his purple-haired companion to stop talking, ending the argument. He then addresses the jealous student, admitting he was once misguided and now seeks to atone for his actions. The powerful man bows deeply, offering a sincere apology directly to Wu Lingen for his past behavior. Wu Lingen lowers his head in response, his face obscured from view. The man looks downcast, misinterpreting the silence as a rejection of his apology. However, Wu Lingen is actually struggling to contain his motion sickness, his face pale and sweaty. He suddenly becomes ill, projecting a stream of rainbow light that catches the man completely by surprise. The unexpected outburst sends the man flying from the carriage as Wu Lingen weakly explains he gets carsick. Now outside, Wu Lingen leans against a tree to recover as Xiaoyu watches him with a slight, knowing smile. Xiaoyu checks on a pale Wu Lingen, who claims he feels much better now that he's been sick. The rest of the group questions how a powerful cultivator could possibly get motion sickness from a simple carriage. Wu Lingen internally reflects on his transmigration, the true source of his unusual weakness. Biping's offer of a flying boat is rejected, as Wu Lingen believes he'd get sick on that too, sparking Xiaoyu's scorn. The bickering escalates as Xiaoyu angrily suggests they abandon the mission altogether. To solve the problem, Wu Lingen proposes running behind the carriage, much to his teammates' shock. He insists it's no trouble at all and begins to jog, determined to keep up on foot. Back in the carriage, the purple-haired woman questions if all Zhuantian students are this arrogant. She points out the carriage is pulled by 1,000-mile spirit horses, known for their incredible speed. The carriage speeds off, its pace so fast that even a high-level cultivator would be left in the dust. The jealous student scoffs at Wu Lingen's boast, while the purple-haired woman looks on with amusement. She smugly suggests they've already left the boy far behind in the dust, but her confidence shatters as she catches a glimpse of something impossible outside the window. Wu Lingen is a blur of motion, effortlessly keeping pace with the speeding carriage, leaving her utterly stunned. As he runs, Xiaoyu proudly declares his physical prowess is unmatched, a fact even his former rival now accepts. Biping watches intently, wondering if this grueling training is the true source of his incredible power. Inspired by his dedication, she suddenly leaps from the moving carriage, shocking Xiaoyu. She lands beside a surprised Wu Lingen, announcing she will join him in this unique training regimen. While he seems confused by her sudden decision, she is convinced this is the path to achieving his strength. However, her determination quickly fades as she finds herself completely exhausted and unable to keep up. Wu Lingen suggests she get back on the carriage, but Biping stubbornly refuses to give up. From the carriage, the purple-haired woman points out that Biping's slow pace is holding everyone back. Biping fumes in frustration, unable to understand why she, a genius, can't match his physical training. Seeing her struggle, Wu Lingen offers a surprising solution to help her keep up, sparking her interest. The passengers in the carriage watch with curiosity, wondering what outrageous plan he has cooked up now. Their question is answered as the entire carriage is suddenly jolted, shocking everyone inside. Wu Lingen positions himself behind the moving vehicle, preparing to lift it with his bare hands. He explains his plan to slow the carriage by lifting it, making the run less strenuous for her. Biping is moved by his consideration, touched that he would go to such lengths for her. But as he lifts the carriage, she realizes with horror that its incredible speed hasn't changed one bit. Biping pushes through the pain, determined that this grueling run won't stop her quest for power. Wu Lingen effortlessly carries the carriage, cheerfully coaching her on her form as she vows not to surrender. He tells her to keep up, but she stubbornly retorts that she doesn't need his encouragement. They continue down the path, passing a signpost that points toward Liushui Town and Fuyun City. Their destination, Liushui Town, is now clearly marked as they press onward, but Wu Lingen suddenly calls for a halt, sensing something is amiss with his running partner. He apologizes for his intense pace, but a pale and exhausted Biping insists she can continue. Inside the carriage, however, the purple-haired woman is suffering from the extreme motion sickness. The other passengers are no better, left completely disoriented and ill from the chaotic ride. Even the powerful spirit horses are struggling, clearly distressed by the unconventional journey. Woolingen sheepishly apologizes to the passengers for the chaotic and sickening journey. The powerful man, looking worse for wear, decides they've had enough and need to find an inn to recover. With the carriage abandoned, the entire group proceeds on foot toward the nearest settlement. They arrive at a town called Liushui, with the purple-haired woman consulting a map to get their bearings. But as she reads the map, she realizes their intended destination was Fuyun City, not Liushui town. The entire group is stunned by the revelation that they are completely lost. Wu Lingen panics, blaming their earlier chaotic run, while the purple-haired woman glares at him furiously. The powerful man calms the situation, suggesting they rest for the night before sorting things out. An innkeeper welcomes the weary travelers, and the powerful man requests rooms for the group. As the girls head upstairs, Wu Lingen waves goodbye to the other team, agreeing to meet in the morning. But the powerful man stops Wu Lingen, asking him to wait for a moment. He questions why Wu Lingen is heading upstairs with the girls, insisting they should have separate rooms. From the top of the stairs, Xiao Yu casually explains that the three of them always live together. The powerful man and his purple-haired companion are left completely speechless by this shocking revelation. They watch in disbelief as Wu Lingen enters the room with the girls, wondering about their unusual relationship. Inside, Wu Lingen offers food to a weary Biping, who declines, claiming she isn't hungry. He then immediately starts training while eating, earning Xiao Yu's fawning admiration. Biping interrupts his bizarre workout, calling his name to get his attention. With a serious expression, she asks if his incredible strength truly comes from such simple physical training.